Welcome to J is for Justice podcast. If live breaking news and following true crime is your thing, then please consider subscribing to my channel. And if you like what you see in my videos, please consider giving them a thumbs up. Hello. Is this thing working? Hello. Welcome back to J is for Justice. My name is Jay. I am your host today. Welcome to my channel. We have a special guest that's going to be joining us very soon here. But I wanted to hop on really quick before Dimitri joins us. Dimitri is a real lawyer. He is also a professor at the John Jay School of Criminal Justice. So that's pretty exciting stuff too, especially in the true crime genre. Good afternoon to Norma and Nursey. Stillwaters, good to see you. Captain Ganja. Jammers, good to see you. Heidi, good morning. Angie B, thanks for coming in and moderating as usual. Good morning, Joe. I hope everybody's having a great Monday. It is Monday, right? It's already been one hell of a Monday. What's up, Kels? Diana, thanks for coming in. Rodinia, good to see you. So before Dimitri jumps on, I just wanted to kind of talk about what we're going to do today. So we're going to talk about cease and desist, and I don't think there's going to be a whole lot to it as far as, they're pretty straightforward. I do want to give him a little bit of background on what's kind of the basis of this one here. So we'll be going over that with him. But first, when he joins, I'm going to just introduce him, let you guys get to know Dimitri a little bit. We'll ask some questions about cease and desist orders. And then we'll give him a little bit of background. Hey, Ember, sorry. We'll give him a little bit of background. And then since we'll have more time, I figured it would be a good idea to go over the neighbor's interview that was on I almost said J is for Justice. No, she wasn't on J is for Justice. She was on JLR. Eugenia, thank you for becoming a member today. Appreciate you. Beautiful picture too. Carrie Lynn is cray in a good way. Yeah, she is, Lucia. We were in stitches this morning. I know, Audrey. We all want the same thing. I just want to make sense. I want to try to make sense of things that don't make sense. So, Allie, you've been waiting to hear from me all day. Sugar and Spice, welcome. True crime and other stuff. Hello. Hello from Quebec. Wow, you're a long ways away. In the Quebec, I've seen some Quebec license plates down here in Florida, and I'm like, dang, they drove a long way. Tic Tac Tony. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable, folks, what people will do. It's been a week, and I'm trying to get this boom arm out of the camera view, and I moved it to the other side, and here it is again. I'm like, I can't win. We're losing. Norma, good to see you. Mikey D, what's up? Does it say I'm going to talk about Sebastian, or does it say I'm going to talk about cease and desist, Mikey? Let's get real here. Let's read the title, Mikey. Oh, Megan, it is so hot. Like 100. It feels like over 100. Yeah, Mrs. Fletcher, I thought that was interesting too, that she knew a lot about Seth, kind of. But I guess he was there the first 3 days, and that's probably like from what that neighbor said. What's up, CJ? Cease and desist. Um, from what that neighbor said, it sounded like the first couple days they wanted help, and they were like talking to the neighbors about what was going on. And then when they realized something, like it could have been um I don't know, they realized that he didn't run away, or maybe he didn't leave the house like they originally thought, like running away. Um they clammed up, and they stopped giving them information. Yeah, Bomber Girl, I don't even know what to say, man. I Melissa B, I'd rather not. Dick Doc Tony? It was bound to happen. I mean, you screw around and you get comfortable doing shit like that, and it's just I was until it's hot. So like I think it's meant for the wind, Kels. Like when you're outside, because my breath, my hot air that I spew, it made it so hot. It is coming in hot like fajitas. I don't have my sound bites because I'm on this platform called Talk Studio. What's up, Candy Wrapper? Yeah, it's unbearably hot. I'm not trying to complain about it because I mean, I love where I live. Allie says, I keep waiting for the police to get their head out of their butt and look at that trash truck video. Really look at it. Well, I think the FBI has it. Natalie, that sounds perfect. Palm tree lover. Hello, hello. Rocco says, I predict damage control. What will the damage control be, though? How can you damage control that? I was going to the bathroom. Lisa, yes, I did see it. I know, CJ, it's cool, but it is hot. Like because you have to talk. These Shure mics, you have to be like so close to it that I was just like, I'm sweating. I can't do it. Ah! I think, yeah, he needs a cease and desist on his ass, huh? Blair's traumatized. I apologize. That's a lot for a Monday morning. I couldn't believe it. Mrs. Fletcher. Hi, Lee. How are you today? Hope you're doing well. Happy Monday. My cat's name is Karen. Audrey says Seth is slapping everyone with an illegal C&D, yet he is and can't stop anyone from speaking truth about Sebastian. And Seth has made himself a public entity. So there's that. And that's what we wanted to talk about today. We just walked to Publix for lunch. It's hot as heck in Pensacola. It is. It's hot and humid. Let me shoot Mr. Dimitri a text. Hopefully he didn't get caught up with anything, but let's take a look while we wait for him. I know, Candy, it is. I do too, Natalie. I think the cops are working. Gary Davis, what did Tony do? What did Tony not do? But how do you clean that up? Like, oh, sorry, I was going to the bathroom. Are you worried for Bobbie, the neighbor? She didn't seem to be worried at all. I was looking at every vehicle that pulled down her road, and she didn't care. Or she didn't seem to, anyways. She wasn't looking over her shoulder, that's for sure. Cuba, real feel here in PC 98. Detective Wagon's Tail wants to know what did the ladies on the panel say after that? Nothing. I don't think they didn't acted like they didn't see it. Audrey's nickname. Oh boy, the Wienermobile. Tony saying, "Oops, it wasn't me." Yeah. You know what else I noticed in that interview, Lisa, was that she said there were multiple CPS calls to the Proudfoots. So I don't know who that's from, neighbors or what. Karen, you know what? I was so tired last night. I didn't check my emails, but I will for sure. I will for sure tonight. But I want to let you guys know to everybody who's members, tomorrow we're going to be doing a members only stream at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to be deep diving on this ruckus video and what the neighbor said about all the cameras and stuff. Because we were gaslighted hardcore, guys. I was gaslighted hardcore. Gray Hughes and Chris Proudfoot tried to gaslight the shit out of me. And Gray Hughes was so gullible that he fell for Chris Proudfoot's shit and said, "Yeah, that's a trash truck on honeysuckle." And it's so not true. And this neighbor just really spells it out. Welcome to the stream, Shadow. Good to see you. It seems like all the neighbors are side eye. Yeah, I mean, she said none of them even left the yard. But that includes Seth. She said in those first 2 days, nobody left the yard, and that included Seth. She said she didn't see them walking around or nothing. And her boys were out there searching. So when I was watching that last night, I was like, oh, are those kids maybe some of the kids that were picked up on the dispatch audio that they thought, remember we heard that and they were like, oh, there's a kid in the creek with his dad. It sounds like all the neighbors came out and tried to find Sebastian that morning. Oh, Heidi. I know spirit waves. It does. It's weird. And I still feel like that video is two things molded into one. Do you know what I mean? Like, let me show you guys just a quick pic. And I don't know, I'm going to give him some more time. We might just start watching the interview and then I don't know if Dimitri got caught up with something. Where is that? I want to show you guys what we're going to go over this in detail tomorrow, but it's going to be members only because it is. I'll release it later, but initially, while we're going through it, I want it to be just members only. And then if I need to edit anything out, I can. You know what I mean? I want to do that for members. Um, Here it is. Well, here's one of them. This is an overlay that I did. Let me show you guys. I mean, that definitely, whatever it was not on honeysuckle. You know what I'm saying? This right here. Um, that is the little, you remember the little blob up in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. And then you see subject one, subject two kind of like go across the screen, but we don't know the whole time frame. But the neighbor did say she knows the people that live on the corner of Stafford and Kellen, and that was definitely not trash men. They're not going to be going through the between the houses, which Nick Barris called the common area. So it was pretty crazy. Oh, no, twins, I can't. Bruno, stay cool out there. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind on the chat. I will never look at 1202 the same again. Oh, stay cool, Maylee. Seth better watch himself. He may end up with a C&D letter. Stephanie thinks that Ellie knows something. CJ, you did not deserve a C&D. I agree, Miss Robin. I agree. Right. I mean, how do you clean that up, Jammers? How do you clean that up? Somebody said they saw his belt buckle. I mean, what the hell? Kathleen says she's worried for Bobbie as well. Hey, Teresa lurking from work. Ooh, Audrey thinks that Ellie is going to blow this case up. I love hearing that. I love hearing optimism with that. You guys, I can play it. CJ, thanks for becoming a member. Appreciate you. Everybody's worried for the neighbors. Oh, she said the CPS came from the teachers. See, that's why we need to watch it again. I was like, I was trying to take it all in last night. And then I wanted to screen record the part about the video. So I was like, I was screen recording it on my phone while I was watching it on my TV because I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I didn't really catch the goggles part though. That part I didn't catch. Diana, Bomba Girl, thank you for becoming a member today. What happened to that YouTube guy Gray? Is he still? I don't know. I have no idea. He's still over there stomping his little white baby shoes and saying that it's a garbage truck on honeysuckle. Kind of, yeah. Did yeah, I didn't even think of that until I saw somebody's comment that said, "Oh my God, they pulled a Don Wells." I forgot about the him being on the pot, but he didn't show us anything. We could just tell he was on the pot. He was showing his face. We just knew he was on the pot, but he didn't show us like Tony did. I don't even know how that happens. Claire. She said someone came out and looked under the house. Yeah, Bobbie said that Sebastian never played outside, but Chris Proudfoot said that all the neighbors knew him even though he never played outside. Oh no, hold on. Hang on one second, guys. Okay, sorry. My mistake, guys. We're going to have a change of venue. I didn't check my email. Dimitri emailed me 2 hours ago and something came up. He has to reschedule about the cease and desist, so I apologize. I apologize. But we will definitely do that. I should have checked my damn emails. All right. That's fine. I wanted to go over the interview with the neighbor anyways. So we can do that and then he's going to let me know. Maybe we can do that tomorrow. The next available time he could do it, even if it's over coffee tomorrow, we'll do it because I have a lot of questions for him. But let's do a little walkthrough of this neighbor and we can make some notes and then tomorrow we're going to deep dive it at 8 p.m. We're going to get out the video. We're going to get out the full frame video. We're going to get out the zoomed in video from Kaylee. If you guys don't remember Kaylee, put her link at Kaylee with a piece. She's did the great zoom in job on that. We're going to go over all of that, and then we're going to compare it to what this neighbor Bobbie had to say to JLR, which I thought was super duper interesting. And I figured we could go over it now. Meow. And then we can deep dive it tomorrow. Let me catch up in chat before we get started, because I hate being behind. It really gives me anxiety. Eugenia says, I think they talk more. I think the more they talk, LE is watching and taking notes. I do too. Then, yep, the neighbor said when she and her son passed the house, Chris was like, "What are you doing here? You can't be driving around here." Good morning, Bunny. Barbie says they were raising that child like a hermit, no friends, no going outside, no playing with peers. No wonder he was traumatized and upset about online school. School is his only social outlet. So sad. Right. He needed a year away. Why did he need a year away? They're not being completely honest. They're just not being completely honest about it, in my opinion. We do love Mr. Dimitri. We understand he's a busy guy. And it's my bad for not. He said, I'm sorry again, just a crazy day. It's Monday. So we will we'll definitely do that as soon as he can. Because it's only gonna take, I think it's only gonna be like a half an hour. Oh my god, look, white boy. Oh my god, you guys. Look at this. Look at white boy's thumbnail. Oh my god. Oh shit. Gary thinks the money got to Seth. Yep, deep dive tomorrow for this ruckus video and stuff. Yeah, did he ask her about the CJ? Did he ask her about the mannequin? If he did, I missed that, but that thumbnail, I can't. All right, hold on. Let me do some adjusting. I got to change the title. And if you guys want to sub up to Dimitri, he's got some good content over there. Real lawyer talk. But let me get this switched up here. I've got this thumbnail. Hold on. Okay, there's that. Thanks for being patient, guys. I apologize, but we're going to get to this video. Here we go.
I think that from what I understood, she called around 6:30 that morning, I think. Was it about 6:30, I think is?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it was. And I think from what another neighbor said, that she actually caught her SUV leaving the neighborhood right before that or right after that. And so it was, she did all that and then came back. And then I guess that's when she put it on the Facebook page. But I also remember what I thought was very odd was shortly before that, another neighbor So if their house is here, if you're going up Stafford, a little bit farther up Stafford, was actually the first one to ask, hey, what's all going on in the neighborhood? Because my older son left to go to work that morning, approximately 8 o'clock, and there was already police all up and down Stafford, like just covering it. And they were already out walking around and stuff.
Isn't that what Katie said? They came in rapid fire. They came in rapid fire that morning.
And so I don't know, I guess she saw some of that traffic as she was leaving to go to work, and she posted first on the Facebook page. And then Katie, after that, is when she posted, and I went back to find that, and that previous neighbor deleted her post.
What about Katie's post?
I don't know. No, the original post, the first post.
Yeah. It's no longer
the neighbor,
there.
It's gone. She had to have deleted it, because you can't, if you're not the creator of the post, you can't delete someone else's post. They have to delete it. But when I went back a couple of weeks after everything happened and things kind of calmed down a little bit, I was talking to somebody else, and I was like, I remember, didn't such and such make the post first? And this is a neighbor down the street from me. And she said, yeah, I remember that. And I was like, I wonder what the time frame was different. And I went back to look, and it was gone. So the original neighbor that very first posted asking what was all the commotion going on. And I still wonder if that's why Katie posted that. But then it was like 2 or 3 neighbors after. So Katie posted her comment or her post, and then several people commented after. I didn't see anything. She was asking, like, everybody check their cameras. I didn't see anything. And then Chris posted underneath that and simply said something like, yeah, my son's missing. That was it.
Oh. So what did it say, like, where the post was originating from, or was Chris around the neighborhood by then?
Okay, so I have twins, and when we first heard about everything, they jumped up and went running out of the house and went across the street down to where they live, and they walked over because they wanted to be a part of helping, look for him, and they went over there, and Chris was not there yet. So Seth was in the 8:30.
8:30, okay.
8:20-ish. Yeah, because my oldest son had already left for work. He left about 8. Then my twins, when I got the phone call from the neighbor very nearby them that is a good friend of mine.
So 8:20. So this is lining up with what we heard in the dispatch.
About 8:15, 8:20 that morning, asking if I had heard what would happen. And I had not yet, because I hadn't gotten going for the day yet. And then when my son texted me, I didn't answer. So he called my other boy's phone and asked them, hey, do y'all see what's going on? And they came running in my room and said, hey, Mom, did you hear what happened? And I was like, wait, what? What's going on? My phone's ringing. You guys are running in here. Like, what is happening here? And my neighbor was on the phone calling me. And so as soon as I heard the neighbor tell me the story, what happened, they went running out the door and went over there to kind of help, with the search and stuff. And they said that they saw Seth and Katie in the front yard and of course they didn't know the names back then. They just knew, like, now that they've seen pictures, they go back and say, yeah, it was Seth and Katie and Kathy Bowersox and a bunch of other police, law enforcement and stuff like that. But Chris was not there yet.
Interesting.
Well, he wasn't there then.
Now, where do you live relative to the Proudfoots?
I live at the very top of the hill on Kellen.
So the next street, the street that turns into Stafford.
The main street.
Okay, so she lives on Kellen Lane. Let's take a look at Kellen, because she says on the hill on Kellen Lane. So let's go to Kellen Lane right here. So would the hill be considered back here? I wonder. Yeah, she lives down here, I guess, up on the hill on Kellen. Oh, snap. She looks right onto the construction site then. I think she said that too, didn't she? Because this was way before the construction site was even there. I know, CJ, you've been there, but I'm thinking the top of the hill is looking over the construction site.
Main Street coming in. So just basically what you're now going back to Katie, like what you know or what you heard. When was Katie driving around in her SUV? Like a time frame? Like when do you think she was driving
Well,
around the
so
looking for Sebastian, like she claims.
right. So there's so many different things here because the neighbor that I actually spoke with, that I'm friends with, she's the one that has the camera on the corner of Stafford and Kellen, and I'm not going to mention her name, but
Okay, so that's exactly the camera that faces the common area to like the one we've talked about with all the trucks in the driveway and the boat. This is Bobbie's friend.
she's the one that the camera footage got leaked without her knowledge and her permission that everybody has seen, but I've directly spoken with her. And
so how did it get leaked? Because Nick Barris acquired it somehow. Nick Barris acquired that footage somehow. The construction site is in her backyard, so she could literally see the retention pond from her deck, probably.
And then I also have directly spoken with a couple other neighbors that live very close to the Proudfoot's house. And the neighbor that I spoke with the very first time that morning, she said that when she was taking her kids to school, Katie was already back from looking. She had just got back from looking, and the kids have to be in school at 7:30. And so she normally leaves the house at 7 to take her kids to school. But Katie was already back and in the front yard, and all the cops and stuff were there. So she stopped for a minute to talk to her, took her to school. My neighbor that had the camera footage told me that her timeline is not working correctly, but when she puts it all together with the sunrise and then the bus coming through and all of that, she said it was approximately about 6 o'clock, 6:15, 6:20. It was right in between supposedly when she discovered him missing. Supposedly she gets up, she runs around the house, she gets dressed, and she drives out of the neighborhood and that kind of thing and goes looking for him. But I know the neighbor next, if you're looking at the Proudfoot's house on the left, when she went running out of her house hysterical, the neighbor next to her was already out. You know, of course, everybody's getting up, getting ready for work, getting kids ready for school. Bus comes 6 7 no yeah 6:45 6:50 ish 6:45 6:50. It's been a long time since my kids have ridden the bus, so I have to really think about that one. But it's definitely before 7 because the kids have to be in school in class by 7:30. And we're the last picked up before he actually goes to school because we're right next to the school. So you know, everybody was getting up and getting ready for work and everything, so she actually saw her out, and she asked her what was going on, and she told her, and so she actually walked around the house and was helping her look around the house. So she was already back from looking around 7.
Let's break this down for a second. She was already back from looking by 7. We have the call coming into Ellie at 6:33. So did they call law enforcement, and then did Katie leave while the law enforcement was on their way to the house? Betty, and you believe Chris because think about it. Chris said 6:20. Call came in at 6:33. Katie's back by 7 o'clock from driving around looking. Back already? No, exactly, Jenny. She didn't look very hard. Betty, there is a mannequin that is in a barn window that is dressed. That's not the one that was on the dispatch. There was nothing about a barn. It was a mannequin with a heat signal that was in the freaking woods. JLR doesn't have a dog. That's I think it's like a vacuum or something, and it's background noise. It's background noise. Yes, there's 2 mannequins. There's one in a barn, and then there's one that they saw standing on the tree line. So that's the one I want to know what the deal is with it. But anyways, she's got Katie back by 7. When did Seth get out of work? 7:20? It might be the AC in her vehicle. There you go. It's not a dog. No. true crime and other stuff. Yeah, kind of wondering if Sebastian missing was pre-planned.
Interesting. When she left to go look for Sebastian, I know that if you turn right going out of the Proudfoot, you go up the top of the hill, it's a cul-de-sac, or you go around and you can go up your street all the way at the back where the construction is. Did she, before she ventured out of the neighborhood, did she go up those roads? Do you know of the look?
Did she go up my road?
Your road or her road itself to the top of the cul-de-sac? Where
the only thing I was right. So the only thing I was told, of course, we nobody in my house was up or out yet, so I can't verify that because we weren't out yet. But the neighbor that told me that she saw her SUV drive across her driveway saw her leave.
Like
so
leave
that's right.
That's interesting. So you would think that maybe you stay in the neighborhood a little bit and go up and down your own streets.
Well, that was when she went. That was when she went to the school, thinking that he had walked to the school on his own, which I don't know why. He's never done that before. So why would he do that? I mean, like, why would he just walk to school by himself? Plus, he had no shoes on, supposedly. So, like, why would he walk to school by himself? So, but that's what I was told, that she actually
sounds just like Madeline Soto, kind of same bullshit. Why would you drop her off away from the school and so early? Oh my God, JLR looks intense right there. Whoa. He is intently listening, y'all. Crimson, thank you for your super chat. I think the goggles were night vision glasses. That part I haven't heard her say yet. I didn't catch that. So I'm still waiting to hear that one. Trying to figure out the best scene. Sorry, guys, if I'm making you dizzy. I'm not trying to. Hold on. We'll go back to this one. Okay. Miss Bowersox was there super early. Who had a great interview and is afraid for their safety? Who, Queen? He says he is or she is? Kristen, I hope you're feeling better.
He walked around her house outside, didn't find him. So she got in her car and drove to the school.
And was back by 7. Around that time.
So at least actually before that.
Yeah. Does Sebastian, did he take the bus to school, or did Katie take him in her car?
From what the
JLR's afraid for Bobbie's safety or for his own? I can't see him being afraid for his own. You mean he's afraid for her?
Neighbor, yeah, from what the neighbors, of course, I don't have kids that ride the bus anymore. But from what the neighbor nearby said, that he did ride the bus. Now, the neighbor on the corner that has a surveillance camera said that there is a special bus that comes for certain kids that have special needs and whatever. And she said, I don't think he gets on that bus.
He didn't ride the special needs bus either. Make a note of that. He'll look if he's being verbal. Right, exactly, Mother. Please remember the time on the video camera was stuck. For his own safety, he said this today. I've never heard him say he's afraid for his
bus. I think he gets on the other bus. So that was what I was told. I can't verify that, so I can't answer that appropriately.
So I mean, that says a lot. He rode the regular bus. He didn't have to ride the bus for the disabled children. So I think that they have definitely exaggerated this diagnosis, if you will. And yes, if we go and listen to the dispatch, I believe it's at 8:30. We're going to go, let's pull that up. We're just not being thorough if we don't pull it up. All right. I believe at 8:30, the cops say there's 4 people at the house plus the mom. I think it's 8:30. Let's listen right here. Oh no, it was earlier than that. Shit. Hold on. Here it is, right here. Okay. Here we go.
Nikki, how many drones do y'all have up? One at the moment. I've got mine grounded so I can get Sartopo up. I'll be back in the area momentarily.
29 Central on scene. Put 2 out here with me.
10-4, has anybody been there since the initial? There's a whole bunch of people here now. 4 in the morning. Can you help me listen to the radio on the north end?
Okay, so that was before 8:30. 4 of them and the mom. There's a bunch of people here, he says.
Since the initial. There's a whole bunch of people here now. 4 in the morning. Can you help me listen to the radio on the north end until we wrap this up, please? Yes, sir. Brandon, you've got Hendersonville Mountain Patrol coming.
Okay, so that was before 8:30 that there were 4 people there plus the mom. I'm just trying to get this timeline straight.
Got you. So we're talking all law enforcement, all there, starting to descend onto the area, 8 a.m.-ish, right? 8 a.m.-ish. What?
Well, they were there before that. They were already there, and cars parked. By the time when my son went to work at 8, they were already there and already clumped up together and starting to talk because they were already in the front yard talking to them. So they were, I don't know exact. I mean, I would say probably it was even before. I mean, they were probably there. I'm trying to remember what she said when she got ready to leave. She never said anything. The neighbor that called me and told me about it never mentioned law enforcement being there. She just said that Katie was outside walking around, upset and everything. And she asked her, like, what's going on? But she didn't specify if there were law enforcement there. But they were already there and out of their cars and in the front yard at 8 o'clock. So they had to have been there before that.
Damn. So no, Seth got there earlier than 8:30. Seth got there before 8:30. Is Granny's watching in here? Sup, Granny? Granny woke up to some tic-tac-tony prawn this morning. Thanks for being here, guys. I'm sorry that our live with Dimitri got postponed, but real lawyers have real appointments. So we come second here on YouTube.
Gotcha. Any idea when Seth got there?
No, but I do know that he was there by the time my kids went over there, like I said, which was about 8:30. He was already there. And I also know that his truck was there like off and on the whole time.
Gotcha.
But I don't know what time exactly.
So what happens to just explain to everybody then what did law enforcement do at that point, like throughout the morning once they all arrived there? Did more and more law enforcement come, or was there certain?
I told my neighbor down the street, I said, I didn't even know we had these agencies. I mean, like I've never in my life ever seen such a response. It was overwhelming. It was like,
it was rapid fire. Can you imagine how overwhelming it was for Seth and Katie and Chris with all this coming in? She was like, damn. She was like, they came in rapid fire. If it shook the neighbors up, I can imagine if they went and bypassed 911 and made their own little phone call to the sheriff's department. I'm thinking maybe they didn't expect that kind of a response. Maybe they thought it would be like before. Because I do believe that Sebastian had run away before, and that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. I feel like they've had to call the police before because they couldn't find him. But that's only my opinion. I have no proof of that. But I feel like they downplayed it to sound like, oh my God, he just ran away. Like we need someone to come out here and try to find him. And they thought that one, you know, sheriff's department car would come out, take a report, wait through the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe treat it like, oh, maybe he just went to hang at a friend's house and skip school. Like, let's see where he is after school type thing. Could they have thought it would go down like that? They might have thought, oh, well, let's see if he shows up, on the bus today. And then that would give them, plenty of time. And if you think about it this way too, does Bobbie tell us what time the kids get off the bus? Because I know Seth said 3, that Sebastian would get home at 3. But if they start at 7:30, yeah, maybe they do get out around 3, 2:30, 3 o'clock. It's only an hour and 5 minutes. No, he wasn't at home though, Cindy. He was in Nashville. So I think it's like a 45-minute drive from Nashville, the jail, to Sebastian's house. Something like that. Many, many entities came out. Yeah, so I'm thinking like, could it be that they just thought, one sheriff will come out and they came in gangbusters,
Kind of freaked me out. Like, oh my God, I feel like I'm living in a real life, like, drama crime scene. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. The very first that came out was the sheriff's department, because we live in the county. So sheriff's department respond first, because we're not part of the city. So they came out first, and they literally walked all up and down and around and everything. And then they came door to door, and asked everybody, who all had cameras and whatnot. What did you see? What do you know? Whatever. And then it was, now, of course, I'm having to really go back in my head. It's been a little while. It was later on that afternoon, they brought some dogs in, and they started walking around. They came around the houses and asked everybody to walk around their own property, look underneath stuff, in anything that's unlocked. So all of us up and down my street, everybody, my neighbors came out with me. She and I walked together, walked all up and down our yards, all across the street, up and through the cul-de-sac, down the street a little bit.
Do you hear how frantic their damn neighborhood was that morning? CJK. Didn't Bobbie say Seth got there before Chris? Yes, and Seth did get there before Chris, because I believe Chris wasn't there until the afternoon time. So what I remember, Granny, and I don't know if this is true or not, was that he can't take his phone in. This is what I understood from him. He can't take his phone into the jail. So he got out of work at around, I think he said he got to the parking garage at 7:20. And then got Chris's message. And I think he said it both ways, that it was a voicemail and a text. And it said something like, don't be mad, yada, yada, yada. Well, Betty, then show me a picture of it. That's all I'm asking about the mannequin. Right? He said he got to the parking garage at 7:20. And then he said that he drove 45 minutes to the Proudfoots. And this can be found, and it just came to me. It can be found on Vinnie Politan, actually. Vinnie Politan sat down with Seth. And I think that's where he says that. Yeah, they didn't call for the emergency, right? They didn't call with an emergency to the jail. I think this might be, let me see if I can find it real fast. Because I remember it was his one-on-one with Seth Rogers. Is this it here? Hold on. Yeah, they talked about Madeline Soto and him in this episode, and they're saying he's talking about the fact that they went missing on the same day.
So please take a look at the picture. Go on your social media and find a picture of him and share it, because we've got to share this everywhere. Important note also, April 26th at 7:30 will be Light the Path for Sebastian, Memorial Park. I want to know why green was or is
man signal. So we'll just go ahead and use glow sticks and light bags. And
all of you are now putting aside your differences and working together?
From accepting help to try to find my son. If he doesn't approve it, wizardly trained.
Where did it go where he said what? Oh, right here. Hold on.
Rogers was reported missing. He's a 15-year-old. Take a look at his picture, please, folks. That's the important part here. A 15-year-old with autism, last seen at home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. That's near Nashville. His mother, Katie Proudfoot, discovered he was missing from his room. Around 6 o'clock in the morning is when she says he went missing. There's like no evidence of anything here. So please take a look at the picture. Go on your social media and find a picture of him and share it, because we've got to.
Where he asks him what happened that morning. This is about them putting their damn differences aside. And his private investigators.
Working on.
Damn it. I thought it would be easier to find. Well, anyways, he said it on Vinny.
Barbed wire fence behind us as of right now where the new construction is, so you can't get over that, but we could walk around it. And so we both walked up and around that, just looked everywhere that was kind of close by. And then I noticed that they had the drones up. And of course the news was short. That was Tuesday. The news came out and was flying the helicopter around. It was chaotic. It was absolutely chaotic.
Did you see Seth and Katie out there looking? No.
Not in our neighborhood.
Oh.
Never.
Bing bong.
Never seen them walk around.
No, they were in their yard out, but never left their property. No. And I know for a fact because so Monday my kids were out with law enforcement, because at that point it was.
So that tells me that none of the three of them did not treat this as they thought Sebastian ran away. Look at JLR. Side eye. Listen, it means that they weren't treating it as like a runaway too. Like, why weren't they driving around to like people's houses that he knew people? One person could stay there and wait. I mean, we're just going off what she says, but I'm just saying, like, I'm sure she didn't have her eyes on their property 24/7 too. You know, we have to take that into consideration as well. That she does live up on the hill on Kellen, and she really can't see their yard, especially their driveway or anything like that. Like, she's just asking people like, hey, do you see them? Have they left? Exactly, Granny. Yeah, she's on the hill on Kellen, but she's right there by the construction site. So she probably saw them draining that pond and searching that retention pond. What's up, Stephen A? Good to see you. Good to see you.
We need all the neighbors come out, help us, look everywhere, whatever. So they were open to everybody coming in and help. So at that point, my kids jumped into one of those razor things and drove all up and through the property and stuff. And then my other one walked with the canine unit in the construction zone. He walked all the way through that. They literally, I had to call him one point in time and tell him, y'all need to come home and have lunch. I mean, this is crazy. I know you want to help, but you got to come home and eat. And so then they came home, they ate, and then they went back out there, and they were out there with them all day Monday, all day Tuesday. And then, so Tuesday we had SWAT. That was the day.
I want to know where her kids were. She said they were out there with them all day Monday, all day Tuesday. When you reported your daughter missing, which I'm sorry that happened to you, Um, they didn't tell you not to search. Well, I mean, if they think that maybe the kid wandered off or the kid walked away or if whatever. I mean, as a parent, you're going to go drive around like Katie drove to the school and back because she probably figured that's the only places he would go. But my question is, did she drive to Culver's thinking, "Oh, he knows the way to Culver's?" Or did she drive to whatever the other place she said he knows? And why weren't they like wanting to get a hold of Saf immediately? Like I would not wait and leave a voicemail that he's going to get an hour later. I'd be calling his ass at the jail going, "Hello, have you seen or talked to Sebastian?" Granny says the heavy response was likely because he was determined as autistic and wouldn't be able to find his way home by himself. We have to keep that in mind. That's true. That's true. And especially if they've made him sound like they have to us, which I don't know what they did. But yes, Seth would have been, well, my first call, I don't know. I can't judge on that because if I panic, I'm going to call my husband, I think, and be like, "What the fuck?" So that I can't really judge. I've never been in that position where my child was missing. So I don't know what my first inclination to would be like to call someone because my brain would probably be blank and like racing. So I don't know. Like if my husband calms me down, I might need to call my husband because I need, him to calm me down and walk me through this next step because I'm freaking out. I don't know. But she said that Katie came out hysterical. That the neighbor saw her come out hysterical.
We had the vigil, and
The vigil.
so it was interesting because we put out a post on the neighborhood group that we're having a vigil, and everybody's invited, but we want it to be just the neighborhood only because we want it to be a private vigil just for our neighborhood and for the family. We were hoping if we made it more personal like that the family would come and they wouldn't be overwhelmed with all this. That was the other thing. Good God, the traffic. The second that it got out, we had tons of people just driving up and down the street, just looking and watching. I'm like, I don't know what you're going to do to help. We're flooded already with police. I don't know what outsiders coming in are going to do. I mean, it was chaotic as it was anyway.
Thank
And now
you,
you got all these
Annie.
extra people coming out there. So it just got so chaotic.
Annie, thank you so much for your super sticker. I didn't see it before. Thank you so much.
But so Tuesday night we planned the vigil, went down there, got in a big circle, introducing everybody. And there's neighbors. I don't want to get too personal here. There are neighbors. Actually, we have I think 2, maybe 3 sets of neighbors that are in law enforcement. They're in different counties. One of them is actually a part of Hendersonville Police, and then the other 2 are from other counties. They came to the vigil. As a matter of fact, the one that is part of Hendersonville has been in a neighborhood since almost the beginning. Know them very well, good people. And he was down there with a flashlight because we had so many people driving up and down and around and circling and going up and down and circling and coming back and forth. And we're just
She's like, it sounds like it was quite chaotic in their somewhat, quiet neighborhood. But what's crazy is that we're finding out what we have to be fair here when things are verified, right? Isn't that exactly what Chris Proudfoot told us? That neighbors were getting, upset. They were getting tired of, all the traffic and all this stuff. And then remember they wanted to have the public vigil in their neighborhood and Chris was like, "No. Like we couldn't do that. We had to have it moved." And we all jumped on him. We were like, "Oh, bullshit. Those neighbors didn't care." I was even one of those people. I was like, "Oh, fuck that. Those neighbors don't care." But we see that was wrong. We see that shit was wrong. They really did care. They really were getting bombarded. Oh my God, Harper Day. That is obscenity. Obscenity.
Just like, good grief. The Proudfoot sent, I don't know who it was, but they came down and we were all introducing ourselves, and they introduced themselves as aunt and uncle.
The Proudfoots?
Don't have a
Aunt and uncle?
Proudfoots.
So who do you guys think this was that was at the vigil for the neighborhood that we never really heard that went on? There was a vigil done in the neighborhood, and they made it small so that the Proudfoots, would feel comfortable. But, in the Proudfoots' defense, if it was crazy where the cops had to, drive around and all of this stuff, and it was nuts, do you blame them for not going? I mean, it's a great gesture. And I think it's kind of appropriate to send someone on your behalf. So maybe it was Mama Bowersox's brother and her husband or his wife. Because Uncle D is married, right? Isn't he? So they come over, and I'm just trying to see it from both sides. They come over and they're like, hi, we're here on behalf of Katie and Chris. Like, thank you so much. And then she said they offered up like a meal train, and then they declined. They said, no, we've got plenty of family, which he does have a big family. And they politely declined the meal train and went on. Now that was the Proudfoots representative. Seth did not show up to that one. Now, in all fairness, maybe he didn't know about it because it was on their Facebook page. And if Katie and Chris didn't tell him about it, why would they want Seth in their neighborhood at the vigil? Maybe they didn't want him there.
I don't know if it was somebody's brother, or that's what they introduced themselves as. We are, maybe it was Sebastian's aunt and uncle.
Chris and
Maybe
Katie
that's what it was.
Chris and Katie said they were their aunt and uncle?
Well, it wasn't. Chris and Katie didn't come. They sent family members, and when they introduced themselves as we're aunts and uncles.
Why
So I
didn't
guess
Chris,
Sebastian's aunt and uncle?
why didn't Chris, did Seth go?
No.
So no Seth, no Proudfoots. They basically sent their own representatives, family members that claim
Yes.
they ran.
That's correct. Yes.
I got two questions back on the first day. When do you know that Chris arrived home?
I did not, because I didn't know. I had never met them. They moved in and nobody knew them. Like, I still don't know anybody that really knows them. Like, nobody ever really knew them. And so
when did they move in? Do you know?
I think, well,
Me
so
too.
apparently it was a year and a half ago.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and they just stayed to themselves, and nobody really even knew them. I didn't even know that the original owners sold their house, and not because we don't, our neighborhood is just a real quiet neighborhood. Everybody kind of stays to themselves, except for, if you need something, or if a dog, a pet gets out, or if somebody goes on vacation, hey, will you watch my house, that kind of thing. But we don't really, unfortunately, I think everybody's just have busy lives and stuff, and we just don't know. I mean, like each neighbor knows the neighbor next to them. Like, I know all the neighbors around me. And I know a lot of their original neighbors that were there from day one, but I don't know the ones that have moved in over the past 5 years. And I think with COVID, that kind of messed everything up too.
Gotcha. Somebody put in the chat, what time does the trash get picked up in the morning?
That is the biggest misconception. Here we go with the whole light thing, right? This is where we're going. So
one more thing first. The very first day, the dogs. You saw dogs out there.
Oh, yes,
did you
absolutely.
see them going a specific direction or area? Did you see them centered around a certain area, or did they pick up any scent?
Okay, so there was no scent that was picked up from their house to anywhere. However, and my kids were with the handler and the canine, and actually watched. He followed them all through the construction zone. And
Okay, hold on. I got to show you guys something that was just sent to me, and this is about the neighbor here. I don't know if this is what this is. I mean, I do know what it is, but let's take a look. This is Seth and Tony's group. And it says, so I'm hearing neighbor Bobbie is an admin on Seth Rogers' Facebook page that he promotes. Could this be true? And then here's, oh shit, this is where she's about to slip. And then it has Mrs. Bobbie Court, whatever her name is. What does she slip on again? It's nothing major, but look, if she's an admin in Seth's group, that's kind of weird. Her timing is suspicious. Crimes have consequences. You heard from Julia, the scent was from Proudfoots to the construction, and Max dove in the water. Well, it's on the dispatch. But as far as Julia goes, I've been ghosted by her since that whole thing. Well, I know that's not for the neighborhood though. This is the Seth Rogers group. The TikTok Tony and Seth Rogers group. That it's showing she's an admin on. Look. Find Sebastian Rogers. No speculation or theories. Is that theirs? I don't know. I'm just showing you what I got. Just showing y'all what I got. I don't know if that's even her. Don't know. Back to the video.
One of my kids actually saw one of the dogs take the handler to one of the retention ponds. And not only did he go to the retention pond, he ran to it and jumped in it. And the handler had to go and get him and take him out of the water and then dry him off. And my son looked over the handler and said, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like that before." He looked at me and said, "He's never done that before." And my son said, "Why did he just jump in that?" He said he was following a scent. And then the other
on that, did they go in the water? Did they stick scuba divers or anything in there?
supposedly when I told Seth that when I met him at the most recent vigil, he said they drained the pond twice and nothing. But not only did I see that, but when on day 3, I think it was Wednesday, when National Guard came through and they had their dogs. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They were all up and down through the neighborhood. That's why when everybody said, the police aren't doing enough.
Wait a minute. What?
Pond twice.
When she met Seth. Wait.
Pick up any scent.
Okay, so there was no scent that was picked up from their house to anywhere. However, and my kids were with the handler and the canine and actually watched. He followed them all through the construction zone. And one of my kids actually saw one of the dogs take the handler to one of the retention ponds. And not only did he go to the retention pond, he ran to it and jumped in it. And the handler had to go and get him and take him out of the water. And then
what did that truck say that just went by in the background?
Time does the trash get picked up in the morning?
That is the biggest misconception. Here we go with the whole light thing, right? This is where we're going. So
one more thing first. The very first day, the dogs. You saw dogs out there.
Oh yes,
did you
absolutely.
See them going a specific direction or area? Did you see them centered around a certain area, or did they pick up any scent?
Okay, so there was no scent that was picked up from their house to anywhere. However, and my kids were with the hand.
Okay, this is true. This is what we already knew. We already knew this. We knew because he said Max did track back up. So that means that Max had a scent and then he lost it and then he tracked back up and went to the retention pond and jumped in. Terry Lynn, after this interview, they went to school together. Oops. Sorry, a little bit of Gypsy Rose. Okay, listen, I'm going to play you that part about the retention pond.
Ocean side over here, back towards the beach. It's awful muddy. Do you see any footprints, anything? Couldn't have any.
See, did you hear him? He said Max did track back up. That means that they had a track and lost it, and then he tracked back up and ran to the retention pond. Listen.
I took personal medical center ER, sanitation ER, Southern Regional ER, and Skyline, all clear of the juvenile. You can see that the code red has them on. That is 745.
Next big track back up, going into the construction side over here, back towards the beach. It's awful muddy. Do you see any footprints, anything? Couldn't have any shoes. I do have some footprints. Right there where you're standing? Yeah, leading right over here to the retaining. No shoes, just footprints? He literally dove into it. Max led me straight to the retaining. He dove into the water. Copy.
See how they like bargled out the something about the water. Listen again to this part right here.
He dove into the water. Copy. You see any prints around it? There was a few footprints in some of the softer dirt headed straight this way on the track that he was running. Do we have a picture yet? That's simple. What was that heat signature at? Where the riprap is, where the trees are. 25 feet maybe out in.
So right after Max tracked back up, then they get the heat signature of the quote unquote mannequin. Listen.
For the middle. Hey guys, the construction zone, there's another pond. There's somebody standing in the woods. It looks like a person. It is a person, we know, but there's another pond. He's standing back there by himself. Past the construction zone, in the same area back there. Yeah, the north end of it, yeah. On the machinery goes straight back. There's a person in the woods by that pond. There's the house on the other side of the tree line. Going back toward beach, or going on the back side? Yeah, on the back side, and he's not moving. He's just standing there by himself in the woods.
It's Hendersonville 517. I'm on the northeast corner in the cemetery across the tree line. Am I close?
No, the back side. Mickey, if you can, do you have anybody there with you? Stand by. Let me see if I can find it on my map. I got my drone grounded for the moment, and I'll see if I can do it. Target's over it. One of the two. I'm in my truck. Two, there's four of us on foot coming across the yard, start directions. 19's on the screen. Straight in. Keep it on. Go left. He's come back, he passed it. Right here. Won't be there. Walk as you going. Into the woods. You should be about 15 foot from it.
What's the child's first name?
Should be all over it, whatever it is right there. The two people walking the woods. It's a mannequin. Sorry, guys. Look just like a person from the air.
That is so effing weird. Did she answer any questions about the mannequin? I know I asked this earlier. I know, it's weird. This lady has been an active member in JLR's group since he set it up. Maybe she's only comfortable coming on here to talk. No, her kids are not in school anymore. They're grown. But then she also said, which I found interesting, that the cops were trying to convince her of something she didn't see. That was weird too.
Handler and the canine, and actually watched. He followed them all through the construction zone. And one of my kids actually saw one of the dogs take the handler to one of the retention ponds.
Here comes this truck.
And not only did he go to the retention.
Look at this big ass truck. I don't know where she's at right now. If she's on Kellen at home, but watch this truck. Here it comes. I'm so damn nosy. something rides. I don't know what the fuck that was. So random and so bizarre. I was watching every vehicle behind her because I was waiting for fucking Chris Proudfoot to pull up and do an Alex Cox. I'd be scared AF.
One of my kids actually saw one of the dogs take the handler to one of the retention ponds. And not only did he go to the retention pond, he ran to it and jumped in it. And the handler had to go and get him and take him out of the water and then dry him off. And my son looked over the handler and said, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like that before." He looked at me and said, "He's never done that before." And my son said, "Why did he just jump in that?" He said he was following a scent. And then the other
on that, did they go in the water? Did they take scuba divers or anything in there?
Supposedly, when I told Seth that when I met him at the most recent vigil, he said they drained the pond twice and nothing. But not only did I see that, but when on day 3, I think it was Wednesday, when National Guard came through and they had their dogs. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They were all up and down through the neighborhood. That's why when everybody said, well, the police aren't doing enough, I have some of my own personal thoughts about that, but I will tell you right now, we had we had the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, we had Hendersonville Police.
But they also had, she said, 2 people from different sheriff's departments living in the neighborhood. 2 sheriff's departments and a Hendersonville. Yeah, I don't know if that was like public transportation because remember, Chris was asked that, Granny, and she was like, or maybe it was Chris that said he wouldn't know how to do that, or we don't have public transportation. I don't know.
We had state troopers. We had
no. They didn't find a Brinks cap. They found a Vivint cap, and that wasn't found when they drained the pond. After they supposedly drained the pond, there was divers out there from YouTube, and they found a Vivint hat.
National Guard, we had drones, we had helicopters, we had canines, we had 2 sets of different canines, and the National Guard brought theirs. So we were flooded. Okay, so back to the whole dog.
Let's go to the trash, because the trash is what everyone is like curious about. The time the trash picks up, and then in reference to the lights. We're going to talk about the 3:10 a.m. lights. Let's talk about the trash. What do you know?
So our trash gets picked up by J.E. McMurtry Disposal, has for many, many, many years. They used to, a few years back, they would pick up around 6:30.
But the weird thing is, she also says there was an Uber in the neighborhood that picked up somebody going to the fucking airport. She said there was an Uber that picked up a neighbor going to the fucking airport.
30-ish, but then the bus was coming through and it was making it hard for them to come through with the bus, and all the kids were out and it was just chaotic. So they switched it, and now they go down my street about 5:30, 5-ish, between 5:15-ish, 5:20, something like that, every Monday morning. That's going down my hill though. That's not when they come in and they're going around it. That's when they're coming back down. So yeah.
I mean, that's an extra, 20 minutes? How long is it?
How long can it take to go to the end of Kellen and come back? Like 2 minutes?
Take for the trash truck guy to go through the whole entire neighborhood.
And the other misconception is a lot of people are saying that they have to hand dump the trash bin in there. They don't. It's a new truck. They have an arm and it does it for them. So that was another thing where they're having to pick up these big, no, they're not. They have an arm, they roll it over to the arm, connect it to the arm, and they dump it in. You can hear it. I mean, it's not quiet. It's loud. I mean, you can hear the arm doing all that. So by the time they collect the trash coming up the street though, not going down it. They're collecting it as they come up. So I guess they're probably in the neighborhood just like around 5, just before 5.
And they're out of there before the buses come.
Yes.
Or the bus comes, or the,
Absolutely.
You said buses. Where's the trash go?
Oh, it gets dumped in either Nashville or Gallatin. If Nashville is full, they'll temporarily dump it to Gallatin. And then once, I guess, Nashville gets whatever, then they'll transport to Nashville. The big misconception was that the neighborhood behind us, they get picked up by a different company on Tuesdays. So that's a whole different thing.
Is that construction development? you're talking about?
Well, that was the dumpster that everybody was asking about. How is it possible that, whatever, that the dog hit over there as well? The second dog that was out walking hit also by the trash dumpster. And the trash dumpster owner found that out when law enforcement told him that we got a hit by the dumpster. The owner of the dumpster called them back and said, okay, we dumped our trash on this certain day, Tuesday, whatever, on that certain day in Kentucky. So you guys need to go and get a warrant, obviously. And he gave them permission to go search the Kentucky dumpster or landfill.
Damn, she knows a fucking hell of a lot. And she ain't missing a beat. Like, that's why I believe her. She's not like, she's not even thinking. Like, I believe her.
So that's why they went to Kentucky. And then I was told that they also checked Gallatin.
Let me say this. I shouldn't say I believe her because I don't know if what she's saying is true, but I think she believes herself. Let me put it that way. I think that she believes what she's been told 100%. And I don't think she's trying to pull one over on us, so to speak. I don't. I just don't know why she would have a motive to do that. It's not a lie if you believe it. Yes, they did search a landfill in Kentucky. You think she's part of the town gossip mommy group for sure? Oh yeah, well she runs is she the one that runs the neighborhood Facebook page? Mr. E, no public transpo in Sumner County. Thanks for letting us know.
Nashville as well.
That night, Katie.
Oh, she also does say that the video footage that supposedly showed Sebastian taking out the garbage is just a silhouette. And what does the silhouette remind your ass of? What does the silhouette remind you of? The damn ruckus video? You want to talk about silhouettes? I can't even tell you how many fucking times I said, look at the silhouettes. Look at the silhouettes. Now she's saying silhouettes.
He claims the night of the 25th that Sebastian takes the trash out after they arrive home from going out to dinner. Go ahead.
There's no specific footage of that. The neighbor that has the Ring door camera that saw that, she said to me on the phone that the only thing you can see is a silhouette. She said you cannot see a physical person. There is absolutely no physical proof of Sebastian being at their house that night after dinner.
The fucking silhouette, y'all. All you can see is the fucking silhouette. She said it. She said it. Potato. She said the fucking silhouette. I can't. What's up, Trevor Lee? What's up, Suze? Welcome in, everybody. If you're just joining, we had a little change of plans today. Our true crime real life lawyer got caught up on this Monday. So we're going to be rescheduling that and talking about cease and desist and the current situation that's going on with them. No, she doesn't even have to think. She answers his questions and there's no pre-recording. There's no editing. This is raw. And I think what she said about the neighborhood was really, really interesting that, they want this shit solved. They don't want to live in a neighborhood where a kid went missing, poof, vanished, gone. And also, she said 2 people took their homes off the market because they can't sell them right now. So trust me, none of these people wants their property value to go down to cover for Seth.
Go ahead.
There's no specific footage of that. The neighbor that has the Ring door camera that saw that, she said to me on the phone that the only thing you can see is a silhouette. She said you cannot see a physical person. There is absolutely no physical proof of Sebastian being at their house that night after dinner. There's nothing. There's her car coming home.
See, and she knows because she talked to the people that live right there.
My neighbor did tell me that she saw her car come, but she parks in the garage. So nobody saw him get out of the car.
Now, do you remember when Nancy Grace said, Katie Proudfoot, were there any vehicles in your driveway that night? No, ma'am. My car was in the garage. Remember that? Remember those questions?
What time was that? I always want to know what time she arrived home. Do you know?
I asked, and she said that it was so dark that she couldn't really see. She saw about 6 or so, I think is what she said, ish, because they
Was it dark at 6? Anything coming out of a neighbor's mouth is hearsay. It's all hearsay until we hear from the police. Everything's hearsay. Why do I believe her? I just believe her based on her behavior. I think that what she's saying, she believes she has good information. And I don't think that she's bullshitting or trying to pull one over on anyone. I don't get that vibe, and I don't think that JLR would have her on if she was. I don't think JLR would entertain any kind of narratives. You have to consider who's having her on panel. It's JLR. It's not just anybody on YouTube. You know what I mean? I don't see him putting guests on that have narratives for either Seth or the Proudfoots at this point.
went to dinner at Texas and then supposedly came home, and then her car came in the driveway around 6, and then somebody pulled the trash bin out, after that. But they don't know who it was because you can't tell.
So no evidence. Any neighbor, including yourself or because you all talk, the neighbors talk to everybody and say there's nothing to indicate that he was home that night. He got home that night.
There's no proof of that. Nobody ever saw him come home, or really, I mean, I don't even know if anybody can say they saw him leave with her. I mean, no, I don't think anybody actually looked back that far. It was so chaotic at the very beginning. I think the police were so focused on.
I really hope she had a really good point. Like, did anybody go back? Because remember, there was talk at one certain point about there being footage from earlier Sunday. One of the parents was asked about that. Like, why do you think that they want video footage from earlier in the day on Sunday? And I remember that the subject was changed, and I can't remember what parent it was that said that. If you guys remember, put it in the chat. Let me know. Thanks for being here, guys. Please hit that like button. Yes, JLR and Magnolia have been talking to this lady for months. I mean, he met her twins. So I'm thinking you have to have some faith in the fact that he's not going to push an agenda.
A runaway teen. That was what everybody was focused on. So when they first asked to look at their video cameras, I think everybody was checking actual of him walking out, but there's no proof of him physically walking out. And then it was, okay, are there any cars around there? And so going back to the whole light thing, I was told that there was an unidentified car sitting on my street.
An unidentified car sitting on her street from Kellen to Stafford,
facing the entrance, somewhere around 3:30 or so. And then the flashlights were actually seen on the neighbor's camera, 2 separate flashlights walking in between the yards, which the trash truck does not do. They don't need to. All of the trash is at the curb. They have never, ever gone. Matter of fact, when you sign up for services, they tell you in the email their rules and regulations. If your trash is not by the curb, they don't take it. Unless, you're an elderly person, you ask them if your trash is like in the front of your house.
Oops. Whoops. Sorry.
Lights were around 3:10 after 3 a.m. were trash truck lights.
Not only do I not believe it, but the neighbor that has the actual footage swore up and down that there are 2 different circumstances. There was the car with the lights coming towards the car backed up on Kellen and left. And then about 2-ish hours, hour and a half, hour 42 something, they're like she said, the time stamp on the video is not working. It is stuck. She said, but you can tell because it's pitch black dark in the middle of the night when the car comes down the street, turns onto Stafford, sits there for about 3 to 5 minutes. The flashlights are coming from 2 different directions in between the yards. They do whatever they're doing around the car. The car backs up Kellen and leaves from Stafford. Backs up Kellen and leaves.
Do you hear this? She said there's 2 incidents. 2 incidents. Oh my God.
And then
just FYI, members, tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have a members only deep dive on this ish. Okay. We're going to be looking at the ruckus video. We're going to be looking at the full frame video. We're going to take her information, our notes, and we're going to look at this and try to figure out what the hell. If we can. We're damn sure going to try.
Or so hours later, as the sun is just beginning to come up, you can see the trash truck. And she said, but the trash truck goes past her driveway. She said, you can see the trash truck and the lights and the back of the truck go past her driveway, go up the hill, do its business, turn around, come back down. And then within a few minutes later, the sun is coming up. And then you can see Katie's car leave, Katie's car coming back. And then you can see all the police come in. She said, it's very obvious. So I asked her why the police are saying that that's trash truck. And she said, I don't know. I'm baffled. Because I tell you right now, there are two different circumstances, and that you can tell there are two different time frames.
Wow. Because we've heard from Seth Rogers, and Seth is adamant.
So what bothers me is I never heard the police say that. Does she actually say that the police told her that? Because the only person that I've heard say that is Proudfoot. And Seth. Didn't Seth also say it was the trash truck? Nothing to see here? Let me know if Chris and Seth both said that. I believe they both did say it was a trash truck. But then when Nikki was asked, Nikki Craddock, yes, I called him Nikki. When Nikki was asked, he said, I can't. Nick Barris asked Nikki, can you tell me what those lights are? He said, nope. Barris said, why? He said, because the investigation is ongoing. Right?
That he was told, or he's seen.
That's because LE has told him that.
What's up with that?
Because LE has told him that. Law enforcement has told him that.
Why?
Okay, see, she's riding the Seth train. Law enforcement told him that. Yes, of course they did. You know why? Because they want them to think they didn't see what they really saw. This is so they can investigate. I think, in my opinion, allegedly in my motherfucking opinion, I think this is so they can investigate the ruckus video and these creeps don't think they were seen. Allegedly, in my opinion.
That's the question I asked. When I called, I got I think all of us are just super frustrated as this continues to go on, that we don't understand what's happened. We don't know what's happened. You know, we've all been involved in trying to find him day one. We've spread it. We've shared it on social media. You know, a lot of us were out with law enforcement the first week or so, looking for him and stuff. I mean, this shook us up to the core. It flipped our neighborhood upside down and just shook us up. I mean, nobody left their house for 2 weeks. Even the families who walk their dogs every single day, we didn't see them for 2 weeks.
Why?
So,
why?
yeah, I mean, we didn't know what was going on. We had no idea what happened. I mean, when you have a 15-year-old kid that just vanishes in thin air, nobody wants to leave. We're scared. And then, of course, you see Chris, getting upset through all these YouTube videos. And if you know your neighbor is that upset and threatening people and saying the things he's saying, you're not going to go be a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it made them feel very uneasy. I agree with her.
Going to stay in your little cocoon and stay away from them, and I mean, lock your doors and be by yourself and protect yourself and just stay away from it.
You're seeing Sebastian.
Yeah, and let's face it, it's summertime now. It's June, and these people want to be outside. They want to be outside.
Rogers in the neighborhood or walking around or anything prior to that day. Nothing.
From what I understand from neighbors that live right close to him, the only time they ever saw him come out was when he was playing with the dogs. The dogs would get out, and he'd be out there for a little while, but nobody ever really knew him.
Nobody knew any of them.
He never came out to play with neighborhood kids. You never saw him out riding his bike. I mean, now I'll tell you this. I mean, we have neighbors that go out, like I said, and walk their dogs every single day, sometimes even twice a day. You have kids that will go out and play basketball. We have a basketball goal in one of the cul-de-sacs. Kids will come up and play basketball in the basketball goal. They'll walk, ride their bike. We have a one kid that has a four-wheeler and a dirt bike, and he rides around, that kind of thing. Didn't even know Sebastian existed. Never played with anybody.
No friends, nothing.
Never had any friends over their house.
This is very, very sad to me. When they said that he had fun on that excavator thingy they had, just to hear that this kid had all these toys. They could have been riding four-wheelers and shit in the woods, having fun. Didn't even know he existed. Didn't even know he existed, she said. It took Sebastian going missing for the neighborhood kids to know that he existed. That makes me fucking sad.
How long was, because I heard that Seth was there for a few days staying with the Proudfoots. Did you hear that?
I did. True? Well, I saw his, I didn't know he was staying in their house, but I saw his truck there every single day for, when I heard that he had stayed in their house for 3 days, I was shocked. I didn't realize he had actually stayed in the house and then they said 3 days. I'm like, well, that's odd because his truck was parked on the curb of the street for about a week. But I didn't know he was actually there because he was out searching. Like he was actually at the command center for the first week every day, all day long. Seth was.
Not Chris and Katie. Chris and Katie?
Oh, no. They never left their house.
Never
went
with any flyers, go to door, to speak with neighbors, ask them if they've seen anything, nothing.
No.
Wow.
Nope.
That is so Miss Bobbie. So do you...
Go
ahead.
I was just going to say the only thing they even put on Facebook was that one post.
Which eventually got deleted.
Theirs didn't. The original neighbor that was asking, hey, what's all the commotion on Stafford? That person deleted their post.
Gotcha.
Katie's is still up there.
Where the Bowers...
Sorry, I was muted. Granny, what's weird to me, though, is like, I get that a lot of kids don't go outdoors anymore. You're right. But if they rode the bus, wouldn't they know he existed? Don't you find that to be weird? I mean, if they both went to the high school, how would they not know if he rode the bus like that this kid didn't exist? Does anybody know where the bus stop is? Does anybody know where the bus stop is?
Socks around at all during that week. I know you said that they were there that morning. Did they look around? Did they look around?
No, we never saw anybody. None of them ever looked in our neighborhood where I'm at. I never seen any of them walking around at all, period, ever. Seth, Chris, Katie, Bauer Sox, none of them ever. I never even met them. I had one encounter with Chris one night. And after, never saw him, never met him, nothing.
The Chris encounter, you mind sharing? I think we talked about this offline a little bit.
Yes, okay, so I'll kind of share a little bit of that. This was what day was it? Thursday, I think it was. I think it was Thursday, that Thursday night. Now, mind you, our neighborhood is on pins and needles. Don't know what happened to this kid. Don't understand. Law enforcement's, coming up and around. We've got every department that I didn't even know existed. Like I said, I didn't know, we had a SWAT team. I didn't know we had, drone footage. I didn't know we had any of this stuff. I mean, we're, a small county. I had no idea. Not a small county, but like we're away from like the big crowd, the city. Never had any issues. So I didn't even know that any of this stuff existed. So we were all kind of on pins and needles. And so anything weird, let me go back a little bit and say the night before this is the reason why this happened. The night before this, I had went to work that night, I think. I did something. I wasn't home for some reason. My son was on our back deck. Now our back deck faces the construction, the back of the construction. And so he was on the back deck talking to somebody.
Okay, and this is another thing that confused me. Like I said, her back deck faces the construction site, but she didn't know that it was drained twice. They didn't leave their homes for 2 weeks, y'all. What's going on with this story right here? They didn't leave their houses for 2 weeks and go outside, but her house, her deck faces that retention pond, Did she not see it drain twice?
And he looks out and he says, well, that's really weird. And she said, what? And he said, look at the light out there. And there was a flashlight. It was kind of a dim flashlight, but you could see it because it's pitch black dark. And he said, why is there a flashlight over there? It was one single flashlight, and it was like walking in the back, kind of over in the back of the woods area. And it like walked around, stopped, walked around a little bit, stopped, and then just disappeared in the back of the woods. And so he called me and he's like, what do I do? And I said, you need to call law enforcement. Like, call the number. We had a flyer, had, one of those flyers. And I was like, you need to call the TBI and tell them and figure out what to do with that. He did. And nothing. No phone call back, no, nothing. Just, okay, thanks for the letter. I'm like, okay, that's awfully weird. I mean, you would think that they would come check that out or call you back and ask you.
Yeah, follow-ups.
Nothing.
Right.
No, they didn't even
but
call.
I guess my point is she's right there by the construction site. If they drained it 2 times, don't you think she'd know that? For sure. Like, I feel like she'd know that. She knows every fucking thing else.
Going back to ask him, like, exactly where are you? What did you see? Nothing. Nobody ever followed up or nothing. And so he was like, that's really weird. And I was like, yeah, that is weird. I mean, with the missing kid, you would think they would be coming flying up here to figure out who that was. So it was the following night. So now, of course, we're all like, even more in pins. And he was like, is people just going to just start walking around a neighborhood in the middle of the night like they were pitch black dark in the night? And so he was coming home. We were all at home and still looking around and talking to neighbors and figuring out like what the heck is going on. And he comes home and walks in the door and is like, Mom, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, now what? And he said, there's 2 people, a real tall, skinny guy and a real small, it looks like a girl maybe, that is walking up our street. Now, we do have families that will come out and walk their dogs at night before they go to bed, but they had no dog with them, no nothing. And the strangest part about this was this guy was wearing dark, black, wide, like ski goggles. You've been in my neighborhood. It is, you can't see your hand in front of your face. It is so dark at night. It was 9 o'clock at night. Why is somebody walking with these big black goggles? How can they even see? Well, with everything going on, I'm thinking, okay, that's very suspicious. I got to check on that. Yes, I could have called law enforcement, and that's what was said. You should have called law enforcement. However, I didn't want to call law enforcement on my own neighbor. If it was a neighbor out walking around, I didn't want to be rude and call law enforcement on my neighbor. So I told my son, I said, you know what, let's go. He's got a Jeep that's got a bunch of lights on it. And I said, let's drive down there and turn your lights on and see if you can see somebody out there walking. I said, I'll call law enforcement and let them know what we're seeing, and then we'll just turn around and go back home. I wasn't going to follow them. I just wanted to see if I could find them. So we're driving down my road. We turn up Stafford because we couldn't find them. Like, well, maybe they went up Stafford. We went up Stafford. Now my son's
That could have been just someone searching, or someone could have been law enforcement out there.
Jeep is loud. And so but I didn't even think about it. I was more focused on who this person was. So he drives up Stafford and he says to me, hey, while we're up here, where's Sebastian's house? And I'm like, oh, we just passed it. So he turns around and goes back down, and we're going slowly because I was trying to point out Sebastian's house. And so I pointed it out, and he's like, oh, okay. And so we drive back around, and we're driving back down to the other side of the neighborhood. There's another cul-de-sac. And he said, wait a minute. Didn't you say that this other neighbor has a Ring camera? And I said, yes. And she's the one that saw the silhouette in the window and the lights in the house go on and off and whatever. She's like, but that doesn't make any sense, because if that house is located.
She just said silhouette in the window. Did you catch that, you guys? She said she saw the silhouette in the window.
Camera. And I said, yes. And she's the one that saw the silhouette in the window and the lights in the house go on and off and whatever. She's like, but that doesn't make any sense, because if that house is located here, how can she have seen over here? And I'm like, okay, go back up the street and I'll show you.
Oh, shit.
So we went back up the street to show him where that house was versus this and all the whole thing. And as we were coming back up, we kind of stopped. Now, this is my neighborhood. I'm not a suspicious person. This is my neighborhood. I should be able to do whatever I want to, right? So I stop, or he stops a little bit. I'm pointing that houses out, and we drive out. And I said, Sean, I said, honey, we got to go home. And he's like, why? And I said, because somebody's standing at their front door. He was like, oh, crap. And so, and I did not, God honest truth, I never meant to upset anybody. It was truly just me trying to figure out what's going on. Never meant to upset anybody. Turn around, Stafford. I'm coming back down, and Chris is now, mind you, I've never met this man never seen him before. I wouldn't even know who he is. Matter of fact, I thought he was law enforcement. Stands in the middle of the street and puts his hand out and stops, just like this. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. And I'm thinking it's law enforcement. I'm like, oh crap, we're about to get in trouble because they're going to think that we're looking for this kid or something. So roll down the window, and he comes around and he stands there just like this. Just like, what are you doing out here? And I'm like, holy crap. I said, I'm so sorry. We were looking for, and I told him what happened and told him the whole story. And he was like, why wouldn't you just call law enforcement? I said, because I don't want to call law enforcement on a neighbor if they're out walking around. That's kind of rude. And he's like, well, you have no business driving around here, and started telling me in a very intimidating, very strong voice, I guess you would say, big, tough, he's a big guy.
No, it couldn't have been Chris because he was standing on the front porch. She's talking about Chris being on the front porch and coming out in the middle of the road, putting his hand up.
Kind of thing. That my son is missing, and they've got police all around here looking. I said, yeah, no kidding. I know, I'm aware. I've been talking to him. Trust me, I know, I get it. And then he said, there's a police. What do you, the heat sensor mobile unit things. You know what I'm talking about? That.
Okay, so they had the TBI fixed wing planes circling. Okay. So they might have had LE with night vision as well on the ground in case they saw anything with the TBI fixed wing aircraft with heat sensors. Could that be of what she saw?
That can detect heat sensor and stuff. Well, they had one of those up in the top, hoping that if he came home, it would alert law enforcement that there was somebody walking around, which I don't get that, because you've got families that are walking dogs anyway. So I was like, I'm so sorry. I kept apologizing to him, and he got really upset and, kind of said some things, and I was trying to calm him down, and I apologized. And my son's girlfriend was in the back, and she thought that if she rolled the window down and said, I am such and such, and I go to your son's school, that he would calm down. Even though I said, hey, I'm your neighbor. I live up there. Everything's fine. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bother you. I thought even me telling him I was his neighbor would calm him down. It's like he just glossed right over that. He didn't care. So she says, I'm such and such, and I go to school with your son. And he stops mid-sentence to me and said, oh, and got stopped, looked at her and said,
she's talking about Chris Proudfoot. Yes. So Chris Proudfoot was on his porch. They come driving down the road. She said he put his hand up. She knows who Seth is. She doesn't have them confused. The tall and skinny guy was the guy in the goggles. The tall, skinny guy was in goggles. Chris was on his front porch. She said he walked out to the road, put his hand up, stopped their car, and then they had this interaction. And the girl in the car with her went to the high school and said, I go to school with your son. And this is what he said to her.
Your name? And she said, yes, sir. Like, how do you know? She only gave him her first name, and he said the whole thing. And she was like, how do you know?
So Proudfoot, look at her face. She's like, how the fuck did Proudfoot know her name?
My name. And I was like, what the crap? I looked at my son. I said, we need to go. We just need to go. We just need to go. And I'm like, I'm going to call the police, because this is getting, I don't know. I don't understand. I wish you could have, I can't describe. His body language was just very
It
stern.
wasn't full for that people were out there looking for his son or thinking. It was more like I'm trying to stop.
Get off my street. Get off my street. Get out of here. Get off my street. Go home. Leave me alone. Get away from us. But he told her that, so you're the girl that runs this Facebook group and this, that, the other. I'm going to demand you take that off. You get your phone. And he said, where are your parents? And she said, at my house. And he said,
so a high school girl runs the neighborhood Facebook page. Is that what I'm understanding? The high school girl that was with her that goes to school with Sebastian runs the Facebook page. Because I think on the dispatch audio, it said it was a lady. So does she run it for her parents? Like for her mom?
Well, I'm going to find out where you live and I'm going to come knock on their door and we're going to have a conversation. And she said, okay, good luck with that. And I was like, you know what? Look, we don't
No, it's a neighborhood Facebook.
want to, cause any issues and whatever. I try to give him grace. Don't know the man from nowhere. And I just kept saying, he's upset. His son's missing. He's really upset. He's very defensive. Maybe that's just all that what it was. Now that I've seen some of his YouTube videos and I'm like, yeah.
Oh, two different groups.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know the back end of those details. I know we talked before offline a little bit and you said, kind of like a confrontation kind of deal. We confronted you guys, but I didn't know those like back end details that you shared. Somebody in the chat, Smiley's World, was asking, prior to the February 26th, right, when Chris arrived home, did any neighbors or anyone that you heard, whether you see it, but you said you never knew him prior, did anyone ever say anything about him being around the house on the 25th, the 24th, or seen in the neighborhood or anywhere in the area prior to the 25th?
Nobody's ever really mentioned him. The only person that's ever said anything about him coming home, like I said, nobody really ever paid attention, I don't think, because even the neighbor that lives close by that I'm friends with, I asked her, like, did you ever see? She said, I never really paid attention because, like, he would come and go and they never were out really, and they had this camper and the camper would leave and then it would come back. And then, he never came outside. And it's odd because Chris kept saying that he would go outside and play and, all that kind of stuff. And she's like, I don't remember ever seeing him really outside playing. Like, there's no playground. They don't have a playground outside. They don't have a trampoline outside. Like, if you looked at their yard, you wouldn't even know. There's no bike. There's no, like, scooters. There's no basketballs. You wouldn't even know they have kids.
See, I didn't realize that she had history on these groups. I didn't realize she was that active on these groups. I thought JLR met her there and that she had been pretty quiet. I didn't realize all of this until today.
There's nothing in their yard to play with. He's never outside. Like, he didn't go outside and play catch with his dad. Nothing.
Interesting. Now, as you said, pitch black in the neighborhood. Do you buy it where they're claiming that this kid walked out the front door and kind of that neighborhood?
No. Because everybody around the camera.
Would a kid go out at night and walk around out there at night alone?
I don't think so. I mean, unless their parents didn't. Now, we did have a ding dong ditch happen a couple years ago.
Granny says she's active behind the scenes with creators. Oh, man. Wait a minute.
But no, I mean, because everybody around the camera.
Would a kid go out at night and walk around out there at night alone?
I don't think so. I mean, unless their parents didn't. Now, we did have a ding dong ditch happen a couple years ago, but I didn't even know they have kids. There's nothing in their yard to play with. He's never outside. Like, he didn't go outside and play catch with his dad. Nothing.
Interesting. Now, as you said, pitch black in the neighborhood. Do you buy it where they're claiming that this kid walked out the front door and kind of that neighborhood?
No. Because everybody around the camera.
Would a kid go out at night and walk around out there at night alone?
I don't think so. I mean, unless their parents didn't. Now, we did have a ding dong ditch happen a couple years ago, but no, I mean, I've never experienced kids just randomly walking around the neighborhood. That's the thing about our neighborhood is it's so quiet. Like at night, literally, like, you know, in the summertime when my kids were younger.
It's when you knock on someone's door or ring their doorbell and you run. That doesn't happen anymore because everybody has Ring doorbells.
Sorry, my car shut off for me for something. My kids were younger. They would go outside and play like flashlight tag and stuff like that. And I'd have to get on to them like, okay, 10 o'clock, y'all need to be done because everybody's got to go to bed and whatever. Nobody ever gets, like, you don't ever just see random kids walking around by themselves. I don't buy that at all. And I know that neighbors that are right around them said that there was nothing on their cameras.
Nothing. So no evidence whatsoever for that morning,
No.
26, and not even the 25th, the night of the 25th. Wow. Do you think law enforcement?
He just vanished. He literally just vanished.
What's your theory? What do you think? What do you think happened? What's your theory? Based off you being a neighbor, based off you speaking to other neighbors, you're very close to the area. You've seen law enforcement over there. What do you think happened?
I have to be very careful with that one. I know there were some family dis issues, like there were some personal stuff going on within the family between Katie and Chris. Seth told us, you know, that he was supposed to get full custody. One minute he says that Katie was okay with it. The next minute I'm hearing that Katie was not okay with it. I don't know their personal story. I know that neighbors are close by them heard fighting within their family outside, verbal things that were said outside. So I don't know that it was, you know, I think there were some struggles within the family. I mean, every family has issues. I get that, but I don't know. Families typically would get into that kind of a dispute outside. I mean, if I was going to have a conflict of interest between my kids and I, or my husband and I, we would be inside. I wouldn't be outside making that known. And apparently there were some situations where things were heard.
There were situations where things were heard. She's talked about a silhouette. God, I can't believe she mentioned the silhouette. Oops. I'm going on. Look, I'll shut my mouth, but look, for you folks in the, let's watch this. I can't believe she said the silhouette in the window. Whatever. My good God gracious. How the fuck did it? I thought this had the whole video. Here. Thank you for becoming a member, Nick Shorts. Good to have you. Yeah, creepy, huh?
That weren't good.
Bobbie, when did those fights occur? Do you know?
Women over the past, I mean, you know, I guess since they've been there periodically. It wasn't like a one-time thing. There were other, you know, times where things were said and that kind of thing. I don't live close enough to them to have heard that. I mean, they would have to have screamed at each other for me to have heard that. I didn't hear it, but I know that neighbors around them have reported hearing things that were said outside, and it wasn't like a one-time thing.
Any cops ever get called?
Well, I mean, CPS was, you know, called multiple times, and I know teachers personally that still work at Beach that were told things and they had to report it. I mean, when a teacher is told, counselors and teachers are told things, they by law have to report it. And I know that absolutely. And I know that, kids can be over exaggerating. I know that, especially teenagers, that kind of thing. I think for me, I think my kids would be respectful enough with us that if something happened, I don't think they would go and say, like, my mom is mean to me. Like, they know that's not true, and they would get in trouble for lying. So for him to make up that things that he was saying, I can't imagine him making certain things that were set up enough for CPS to be called on them. And I know they were called multiple times.
Multiple times. So when you say multiple, how many times?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Has any
I'm not
neighbor?
privy to that.
Well, I'm going to tell you something about high school friends. I went to school with a lot of motherfucking people. And that was a long ass motherfucking time ago. If you don't talk to that person all the time, you truly can't vouch for them. You can say, hey, I've known her. I don't think she'd lie about that. I'm not saying Terry Lynn doesn't believe her. Terry Lynn probably does. I'm just saying there's a lot of people I went to high school with too. It doesn't mean that, they're all going to tell the honest to God's truth just because I think they will. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep an open mind to everything is my point.
That information.
Has any neighbors or anybody tell you that they've seen the CPS at their house? Like,
I don't know. They have not actually used the.
Speaking of high school friends, just Teresa has entered the chat. She is my high school friend. Actually, you're my junior high school friend. But you can trust just Teresa because she won't steer you wrong. We didn't just rekindle. We've always had a little kindle flame, haven't we, Teresa?
The words, I've seen them at the house, but they've told me that there have been people that have visited an official. Like, I don't know, like the car that comes is not going to have CPS written on it. Yeah. I mean, it may have a government official like license plate or something like that. And they're not going to have they're going to have a badge on them as they go to the front door, but it's not going to be something that a neighbor is going to see, that kind of thing. So I don't know, like neighbors haven't said like, I have seen this happen because they were really paying attention. I don't think it was one of those things where I don't think neighbors after this has happened, some of the neighbors are going back and saying, wait a minute, I remember this. And I do.
But don't you think like if her and Terry, she would have been on Terry's thing by now, like before 3 months in?
I remember that, and I do remember this, and oh wow, this is like all connected. But when it happens over a year period of time and it's just random, but then nothing really ever comes of it, you just kind of try to stay in your own lane and mind your own business because you're not hearing, like, I don't know that neighbors heard screaming or like, I don't know that it was like the things that were being said outside were loud enough to make neighbors call. I don't think it was that kind of like, if a neighbor next to me, I heard a kid screaming, help me, don't, whatever.
You guys have to remember that you're getting this, this is secondhand information. Right. You know what? Kat's name is Karen. I couldn't have said it better myself. She's the collector of facts in the hood. She's the collector of facts in the hood. Everything you hear and everything you say, you should filter through your own filter. And you've got to remember, she's talking to different neighbors. She's hearing, I heard this, I heard that. Take it with a grain of salt, but take it in.
I would be calling the police. Like, okay, I'm going to go inside. I'm going to call the police and be anonymous. It wasn't that kind of a thing. It was things that were said and arguments between them that made neighbors think, gosh,
But when you say that, are we talking Chris and Katie, or is Seth in the picture too? Is it like, were there arguments with Seth there?
I don't think Seth was ever there long enough. I think he was there long enough to pick Sebastian up for his weekend, or they would meet somewhere for his weekend or something like that. I don't think that Seth was ever there. I think it was mostly.
See, how would she know that? See, this right here, this has got to be just complete guessing. How would she know where they did their visits and drop-offs and shit? She didn't even know Sebastian existed before he went missing.
The one neighbor told me that she heard, and I'm not going to go
heard-
into a lot of whole big detail because I don't want to get into their whole personal life. It's not my place. But a neighbor had told me that there were things that were said between, like, Chris and Katie would get into an argument, like in the driveway, and then Sebastian might come outside and Chris would raise his voice at him, either get inside or what are you doing out here, or make comments to him like that. And like I said, it wasn't like I'm going to kill you. Or,
Oh, he said, get inside. What are you doing? I mean, that's not really something you're going to call CPS on, right?
I'm going to beat your butt. It wasn't like such a horrible thing to make a.
Oh, it wasn't, I'm going to beat your butt like it was when Seth was in California? Is that what she means? Hi, Kristen. I miss you too. Good to see you. Beautiful. Is that what she means? Like, I'm going to beat your ass like what happened in California with CPS and Seth?
Neighbor call 911. It was just a very.
Christina, Jay, stop it. She putting herself in danger of CO, and you're talking crap. She lives there. Christina, you ain't seen me talk crap, I don't think. I have not talked crap about this lady. That means that tells me you have not seen me talk crap.
Like abrasive enough to, now that he's missing, they go back and think, oh,
So that's kind of like, that was the kind of what you were saying when the neighbors kind of.
It's a second thought. They were not suspicious before this happened. They were not suspicious before this happened. But now hindsight is 2020. Now, of course, they're all reflecting back. Oh my God. I remember this. I remember that. They're putting the pieces together.
Put these pieces together after the fact.
Oh my God.
Right.
That was
It's
weird.
one of those things that you go back and look and think, oh, okay, so maybe there was something to that. I just didn't realize it.
Have you ever heard anything about the mattress in the garage?
I have, and I have not been able to confirm that. I did hear that, and the neighbor next to them, when the garage door would come up for her to leave, they saw a mattress in the garage. And well, I mean, Chris admitted that.
Okay, when was that though? When did the neighbors see it in the garage? And they're watching their garage door go up and down? Damn. Yeah, but she didn't say anything about the power washer. She just said she heard words. Right. What position was the mattress in? Was it leaned up against the wall? Was it laying on the floor?
There was a mattress in there. Now, he said it was for his daughter, so maybe, but why is it still in there? I don't know. No idea.
Yeah, they said on Nancy Grace that they got a new bed set after Sebastian missing. But then people are also that punishment. Did you? And I'm not.
That's
I'm
what I
talking
heard too.
Punishment aspect about Sebastian sleeping in the garage for punishment. Have you heard that?
I did hear that, but I can't confirm it.
Oh, Lord. Peas in a Pod said, neighbors see a couch in my garage. Hope they don't call law enforcement. She's the nosy Nate in this case, y'all. Her friends got the footage.
Because I have not talked to the neighbors that live next to them that were the ones that said that. I don't know for a fact they said that. But my thing is, and again, I'm not trying to put anything blame on them at all because I don't know them, don't know anything about their personal story, have no idea. I can't confirm any of this, but I just know that I'm surprised that the mattress has been in the garage that long. I mean, if the mattress is for your child, wouldn't it have been put away?
Maybe that is put away to them. Maybe the garage is where they put it away to. I mean, you have to keep an open mind because you remember I showed you guys from their neighborhood, what's that thing called? That site? What's that called where you have to sign up? The neighborhood, it's like a Facebook for neighborhoods. The fuck is it called? Unsupervised. Thank you for your $5 super chat. She says the issue at this point is every creator will take her interview as being gospel. I don't care for JLR, but this interview made me think. Thank you, unsupervised maniacs. Okay, so think back. Neighborhood, what the hell, whatever it's called. Katie said on that neighborhood post back in November that she wanted bedroom furniture moved. She was looking to hire someone to move furniture back in November. Next door. Thank you, Truth Seeker. She was looking to have someone to pay someone to move furniture. So maybe they moved, the furniture and the bed, like the mattress and the bed frame out to the garage and just leaned it against the wall. I don't think that's weird. I think it's weird that they would see a bed in there. Because if it was laid up on the floor, like, hey, kid, you're being punished, lay on this mattress on the floor, how would you necessarily even see it? Especially, it's not like they're, it's not like when their garage is open, it faces the road. It's not like it faces the road. So who's really going to technically see inside their garage? To see it that well, it's to the side. I don't think it's weird to have a mattress in your garage. I just don't. Now, if it's laid up like a bed, or you saw the child in the garage, or you saw the child trying to get out of the garage, yes. Let's go down here and take a look-see at their garage. Where's their effing house? This way. I mean, I guess it is kind of wide open for these people to see. But, I mean, I guess. Do they leave it like open all the time? I mean, sounds to me like they pull in, close it. I don't know. That is wide ass open there, though. I don't know. Who the fuck knows?
Here, put in the yard. I mean, why is it still in the garage and not in the child's bedroom? And two, the daughter, Faith, I don't ever remember her being there. Like, if she was there, I mean, maybe one summer. I mean, I'm just surprised that she would have a brand new mattress if she's not there very much. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she didn't even have a mattress, and that's the first one.
You spoke earlier about a silhouette and a light inside.
Oh, yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, 'cause some people were asking that in the chat. What's that all about?
Okay, so if I go back to day one and kind of rehash a little bit, trying to make this as short as possible, the neighbor close by that saw Katie out front on the way to taking her kids to school, she was the one that called me. Friends, I'm good friends with her. She's the one that actually called me and told me what was going on. And said that I said, well, what happened? And she said, well, I went and asked Katie what happened. And she said, and this is where the story gets totally misconstrued. I don't know.
Oh,
Again, third party, I'm hearing this from.
okay. And she's saying it. This is where it gets confusing to her. So at this point, she's even confused. I mean, this should all be taken as speculation, guys. JLR wouldn't want you to take everything as fact. That's not what we do. We take everything in, right? And we form our own opinions. It's Beautiful thing.
Another third party source. So, you know, I trust this lady. She's a good friend of mine. There's no reason why she would lie. But she said, what Katie.
See, and that's the same thing that Terry Lynn said about her. I trust this lady. She has no reason to lie. Well, guess what? I don't know that lady, and I don't know that lady. So I'm going to take it all in with a grain of salt.
They had gotten home from Texas Roadhouse, took the trash out, so on and so forth. Sebastian was in his room. She was in the kitchen, I guess, getting, you know, whatever done. And from her house, she's close enough to where she can see from the Ring camera, like the lights inside, because it's dark. So, I mean, if you have lights on, you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so she said that she could see the lights in the house around 10 or so. Then Katie told her that Sebastian was in his room. She was in the kitchen. She said, you need to go to bed. And he said, okay. And she goes in the living room and does whatever, watches TV. She says she was studying. I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter. She was in the living room for whatever reason. And she told my neighbor that she fell asleep and
Say that again. You broke up. Say it again. You broke up.
This thunk, and she yelled across the house and said, Sebastian. And he said, yes, Mom. And she said, are you okay? He said, yes, I'm fine. I'm good. Go to bed. And she said, okay. So she gets up, and my neighbor said, you can actually see his light go off, her walking across the house, her light go off, and then a silhouette come up to the window for a minute. And then everything just goes black.
What time was that again? Because you cut out.
I'm sorry. I know my son was calling me. Okay. So she woke up around 11:30 is what she told my neighbor, that she woke up about 11:30, and apparently he was still up. But I find it odd, because my thought is, and again, none of my business. I just think, okay, put yourself in that position. If I have a child who's got special needs and I hear a thump, I'm going to walk into my child. No, let me put it this way. My kids are all very healthy and normal. I'm very blessed to have very healthy kids. But if it's 11 o'clock or 11:30 at night and my kid has to be up at 6 the next morning, I'm going to be in their room yelling at them and taking their electronics away and telling them, go to bed now. That I would be walking in my kids' room. Even where my kids are now, healthy and average children, whatever, no problems. If I heard a thunk, I'm probably still going to go in their room and ask, like, what in the world was that? I wouldn't just stay. But, you know, hey, maybe she trusts him. Maybe she thought it was no big deal. I don't know, whatever. But that's what she told my neighbor. And then she goes to bed.
11:30 though. See, that information is not really out there. We keep hearing 10 p.m. kind of deal.
Well, we heard, Granny, do you want to come up? I'll give you a link if you want to come up. We heard a 10 p.m. thud. We heard go to bed at 9, 10 p.m. thud, and that she got up and went to bed at midnight.
Put him to bed. Hear the thump. Are you okay? Good night. 10 p.m.
Right.
But this is what she told a neighbor.
That's right. That's right. And when I asked my neighbor, so she told me this Monday. And then when the sheriff's office came by our house to do the same door knocking thing and walking around and whatever, I asked the sheriff, I said, let me ask you a question. And he's like, what's that? And I said, I know early on investigation, they actually were talking to us. Like day 1 and 2, they were talking to us. So they were giving us information. They were telling us kind of what they were going to do and whatever. And then after about a week of it, they just shut down and never would talk again. The day that the TBI came in, that was it. No more discussion. It's shut down. We're not talking about it. You're just going to have to be in the dark. So, but this day 2, when the sheriff's office came in, no, I'm sorry, the state troopers came in. Still don't know why state troopers got there. Haven't figured that one out yet. I don't know why state troopers would be there. But state troopers came in. Actually, they came into my driveway because they were rinsing their shoes off. They had gone into the construction area and his boots were all muddy. And so he and my son were rinsing his shoes off. And I looked at him and I said, let me ask you a question. I said, he's like, what's that? And I said, if you'd fallen asleep in the living room and your kid walks out the front door, wouldn't you have heard that? And he was like, not only would I have heard that, but I would have jumped up with my gun in my hand to figure out who's coming in my house.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing is, like, she falls asleep on the couch and her kid just walks out the door. But then when I asked my neighbor about that again, called her the next day, I'm like, okay, explain this to me. This is what you said. I don't understand that. And she said, oh, well, she woke up and then heard the thump and that kind of thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, it goes with all that in the evening time. At the same time, like you said, no evidence that any neighbors or anyone seen that he actually returned home that day. And then we also have those lights. It's just a mystery in a sense, because those mysteries. Someone asked Go ahead.
I'm just going to say those were not trash trucks.
I concur. But why did authorities say it doesn't have any evidentiary value?
I asked that when I called the lead detective, and I flat out told him that I know the neighbor. I've seen the video footage from the very beginning before it was edited. She told me with her own mouth, looking at it herself, there are two separate occasions, car, then truck. Why is that? We've had it. He argued with me and told me that he had it broken down. The Secret Service looked at it and they confirmed that in fact it was a trash truck. And I said, I'm telling you, it was not. He said, well, I'm not going to say and argue with you. I was like, okay.
Wow. Somebody said in the chat, any video footage of Katie searching for Sebastian that morning? Like, do they have any, since you have a neighbor that has a Ring camera, did any cameras pick up Katie actually out there searching that morning before?
If she, oh, you mean before all the police got there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the neighbor that was leaving to go take her well, actually the neighbor's camera did pick up her walking around her house.
Really? So she walked around her house?
Yeah, because in the neighbor, if you're looking to her house, the neighbor to the left of them, that the wife came out and was actually looking there's like a little like a wood door underneath the house. What do you call that underneath the house? The crawl space. They actually opened up that door and were looking in the crawl space together. And so they were looking. But as far as outside of the neighborhood, I've never seen them. And they've never, no, not that I'm aware of. I mean, I asked my kids, and my kids said they had never seen her, never seen him. They did see Seth was out there a couple of times with everybody. He was at the command post. I have a good friend that was there in the command post, and she confirmed that he was at the command post. But I asked her, I said, did you see Katie or Chris or the Bowers Talks? And she said, no, never saw any of them.
Now, were they supposed to be at the command post? That's my question. Welcome, Granny, to panel.
Hey, Jay. Thank you for having me. I've never been on this type of layout. This is cool.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I hear your birds. Don't get attacked.
Is it loud? I'm outside.
No,
Sorry. Let me move.
It's perfect. I don't mind.
I didn't want the kids to hear.
I was cracking up. No, you're
So,
fine.
what-
I was cracking up at you the other day though with the birds. Because
we couldn't hear that lady at all.
Oh my God. It was so funny. Okay, so what's on your mind?
So what stood out to me is she mentions that this lady was, getting her children ready for school, and she saw the commotion and asked Katie what was wrong, what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And we're supposed to believe that in the middle of all this hectic, chaos, and this lady's running her kids to school, and you got the police, and Sebastian's missing. Katie sat down and gave this woman a step-by-step of what happened.
At that time, yeah.
Right. Like, I was, on the phone. Yeah, like that doesn't make sense. It made no sense.
Yeah, and the person that's given her this story could have embellished. It's like the game of telephone, right?
Always.
When it gets told to the next person, it's always a little bit more dramatic than the first. And
the lady's a stranger.
You bring a good point because I think we have to take all of this in with a grain of salt,
Especially when you add in the fact that she goes from like nobody knew them, nobody even knew Sebastian existed, to suddenly she's like, we've never seen Faith there. Maybe once. And it's like, well, you didn't even know Sebastian existed and lived there? How you don't know them?
Yeah.
So why do you expect to I feel like a lot of what she's gotten, and it happens to all of us. There's been months of this. She was immediately on the Facebook groups. She speaks to creators behind the scenes. I mean, they came in themselves and said it. Trevor Lee came in here and said it. I'm not making this up. Terry Lynn said it. JLR said it. So she's speaking so she's like kind of overly involved, and she has all the town's gossip. So after a while, you start to put your own feelings into your facts. And I think that's what this lady has done.
Sure. And she's talking with all the other neighbors, because it does sound too
right.
that she was a little taken back that they didn't show up to the vigil. And to me, I don't think that's weird. Now, there's a lot of things about them that I think is weird, but that's not one of them.
No, they have bigger things to worry about, right? Like that was early on, but they did have people there to represent them. I think that's commendable. They're not going to go, but they're going to have relatives there in their place. Where was Seth and his relatives?
Well, right. I mean, I was saying maybe he wasn't even invited since this was on the community Facebook. But
that's true.
It seems weird they wouldn't invite the bio dad, but since it was just their neighborhood, they wanted to do something for the Proudfoots to let them know the neighborhood supports you. And then it sounds like it was crazy that there were other people coming in. And then we heard from Chris that he said, I had to tell them, don't do this vigil because there's going to be people from everywhere coming in. Remember, and they had to move the one. They were going to do
Yep.
it in the neighborhood, and then it was moved to like the church or whatever.
I remember that, and the neighbors weren't too happy with all the traffic going on.
Right. And even me at that time, I was like, oh, bullshit. These neighbors probably don't care. But they did. I mean, she's telling us that they did, in fact, feel like their neighborhood was being intruded upon, and, having a community vigil there would have been too much. So, I mean, you can pick things from both ways to confirm what they've said if you have an open mind. Because I'm not
Right.
pro either side of the parents. I just want to know where the kid is. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah.
I think they all failed.
They all did. I mean, absolutely, they all did. And it's like, I can clarify that Chris did tell the truth when he said the neighborhood wasn't happy. So I just think it's, it's important to clarify all the facts, not just for one side.
Well, and going back to that story she told about driving down the street and it's dark, but Chris is on the porch and puts his hand out, all of that. I kind of understand where he's coming from, because at this point there were YouTubers driving around. There were people filming their home. There were threats already being made towards them. So he probably stopped the car and was like, great, you're a neighbor, but you don't live on this street. What else? What other reason are you here for? And after the girl in the back spoke up, he realized that she was the creator of a Facebook group where they were saying horrible stuff about Katie. Right. And he did the respectful thing. He said, where are your parents? He didn't want to confront the kid. He asked for an adult. And this woman, the adult in the front seat, is kind of like all scared. We got to get out of here. I think I honestly understand where he's coming from. Like, well, wait, so you happen to run the Facebook group that's talking shit on us. You're driving down my street. You don't live on this block. You're the nosy neighbor. Get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? Like, I would have felt that way too.
Mm-hmm. I see where you're coming from. I mean, we don't know what happened, guys. We truly don't know. I know a lot of people think, Chris was actually home. We don't know that, though. You can think that, but he may not have been there. And Katie may have been in bed. We don't know how Sebastian actually left. And I just want everybody to keep an open mind, because we're going to feel awfully dumb if we go hard on one or the other, and it turns out that it's none of them, or it's not who you thought it was,
I thought it was very interesting that Chloe, the PI, came out recently and made a statement that after like everything she's looked into and all, she believes that Sebastian left on his own. I think one thing we can all agree on is we would understand why he would leave. You know what I mean? Like, that's one thing I think everybody agrees on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, who could blame him? Who could fucking blame him? But what do you think about her saying that there's a couple instances going on with a car pulling in, backing out, and then the flashlights and the silhouettes in the window?
Yeah. See, that was really interesting. First off, the flashlights, like, I believe that to be flashlights. They never wanted that footage out there. My concern is, did she tell us things that the police didn't want out public because of an investigation? Because it sounds like some of that stuff. But as far as like the silhouette, and she says their lights go out. So at that point, it's already dark. So what do you mean you saw a silhouette, then it went dark? The lights were already turned out. Like, I don't know. Again, is it, was this neighbor across the street?
There would have to be a light on to see a silhouette.
Right. But what was this neighbor across the street just staring at Katie's house all day? By the sounds of it, like, she saw Katie come back from the restaurant. She, like, she sees everything that's going on with Katie's house, but yet they're saying they didn't even know Sebastian existed.
I guess the only thing I can think of is that they have a camera, and maybe they went back and watched the footage, kind of like Nosy Nate did. He went back and he was like, oh, look, he's loading his truck. This is weird. He's never backed his truck
that
up
makes
like
more
this
sense.
before. So maybe they reviewed it and said, okay, well, we see her coming back, da-da-da. I think that's what it's from. But
that would be weird, but couldn't it just been like Katie turning off that other light and then going for the light to turn that one off and then it went dark? You know what I mean? Like, could it be that simple, or is this something mysterious? See, I personally think that Sebastian was weird.
But what's with the light? I'm confused, because maybe I didn't pick up on this, because she's telling a lot of stuff real fast.
Yeah. She said that the neighbor saw
Sebastian's light, right? Is that what she said?
Yeah. She said Sebastian's light went out, then Katie's light went out, and then there was a silhouette, and then it went dark.
But my question, I guess, would be, did they know that those were Sebastian and Katie's rooms from the get-go? Or did they figure that out later?
Right. And my question, but didn't we hear that Sebastian's room was in the back of the house?
I thought it was in the front. His is the only one in the front.
Okay, yeah. Then I'm curious how, like, can you see Katie and Sebastian's room? And like you said, how do they know which is which? And did they,
Katie's would be in
after
the back. Katie's
right? So how would they see the light go out?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. So they said,
I think there's a lot of gossip. You know how it is. You get in these Facebook groups, you get knee deep in this stuff, you hear all this stuff, and it comes to, and then you start, you know, filming, making your own stories, kind of telephone game, like you said.
It is. The thing that I took away from this that I thought was the best, though, for me, finding out was that definitely is not a garbage truck rolling around at 3 a.m.
If you recall, when the police were asked about that, they said no comment. They did not say it wasn't trash truck. They said no comment.
Yeah, they wouldn't say what it was.
So that is interesting.
Investigation. Yeah.
And it did make more sense. It made more sense that would be flashlights in between the houses as opposed to a trash truck all the way up the hill and like a street over.
Right. Right. And then you have a car that sat there for, what'd she say, 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I think the police are quiet, because they're investigating. I think I wouldn't be surprised to find out this was like an internet lure, like he was lured out by, you know, I mean, the one time I was live, somebody came in and said they're having a presser right now. And it was the TBI right after, in the month that Sebastian disappeared, they started an investigation into online predators. And they found like X amount of kids that were victims of this, but there were still like 30 kids they couldn't identify.
It's so weird too. I watched that and I was like, I wish they'd tell us how they found, like where they were at, what was the situation, how were they lured away, so that we can learn from that. We never get that. Like, we find they're rescued and this and that, but we never hear how they were originally lured away.
That's true. And why did they start that investigation and then to not even mention, you know, a lot of people thought that was pertaining to Sebastian, because of course people are waiting for that type of update.
Right. And then
so, I don't know. I mean, they still have the devices. We're told that he had no internet.
Yep.
There's too much going on here, is what it is. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah. The initial, so they wanted us to really believe he had absolutely no way to get online. And then we found out it was the complete opposite. That worries me. But why wouldn't the parents be like, oh my God, maybe he got lured away online? I mean, it happens every day to kids. Why wouldn't they just be honest about that?
I wonder if maybe they felt like they did everything to protect him from, you know, that type of, like, having the password on the Wi-Fi, monitoring his internet usage. And maybe they didn't realize that was so lenient.
But why? Well, okay. Maybe if he had more leniency somewhere else, that Chris and Katie wouldn't be aware of who he was talking to.
Right. And then you have, like, you know, Seth even said himself, like, oh, he had a burner phone he was going to give to Sebastian. So it seemed like Seth was okay with, I mean, you know how I feel. So I feel like Seth undermined a lot of what Katie and Chris were doing. And he wanted to be more of like the fun, less strict parent. So he was willing to sneak Sebastian a phone. Well, how do we know that he didn't give Sebastian that phone? Or how do we know that, you know, Sebastian didn't learn how to get into a neighbor's internet? Or, I mean, the kid's not, on one hand, they want us to believe he had a mentality of a 10-year-old. On the next, we're supposed to believe he was left home alone for 12 to 16 hours and could cook and would make his dad coffee.
Yeah. Choose your own adventure. Really.
Right. Right. He's either incapable or he's very capable.
Yeah, depending on which way you want to go. And if he's very capable, he could have very well walked off on his own. And said,
unfortunately, I think that's what we're looking at. I think between the chaos of the home, the parents, I think Sebastian, I've always thought he overheard Katie and Chris on the phone that night. Chris knew summer was coming up, probably saying to Katie, you know, what's going on? Is he going to go live with his father? I need to know. Custody court's coming up. And Sebastian probably overheard it and felt like he wasn't wanted. And he didn't want to go live with his dad. And he probably just ran out in a hurry, like upset, you know? That's my theory.
He had to have had someone to go to, though, I feel like. I mean, he didn't take, like, we didn't hear that there's any money involved. Nothing like that. Like, I feel like he would have had
Not even
someone.
shoes.
Yeah, someone who's going to take care of him. Someone who he can rely on. Something like that.
One of the grandparents.
Mm.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like any other, well, you know what? I keep saying I feel like police would know by now because they've gone through the internet and their phones and all that. But we hear many times, like, I was just reading an article of an 8-year-old boy who passed away. And 2 years later, his parents were arrested for his death, you know? So investigations do take time, and maybe they're building a case right now. Maybe we just have to be a little more patient and it's all going to come out. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm curious to hear about a car sitting there.
If they still have those devices, that means they're doing something with those. You know what I mean? They're doing something with those. They're not just going to hang on to them. I'm not sure if I lost her or not. She might have muted. Oh, she muted. She's got her kids. You saw the case. It was a case in Florida. I didn't even see that. Well, let's keep watching this. It's almost over.
But then again, she said, but I mean, law enforcement did ask them to stay home in case he came home or called. So there's that.
Do you think law enforcement exhausted the whole?
Well, she just said that law enforcement told them to stay home. Did you hear that? Law enforcement told them to stay home in case he came home or called. Now that can't explain, you know, them. Yeah, Granny dropped off. Thanks for calling in, Granny. I know you got your kids and you got shit going on. Thanks for calling in. It was just a little sidebar with Granny's watching. It was nice to talk to you, Granny.
I said, did you see Katie or Chris or the Bowers talked? And she said, no, never saw any of them. But then again, she said, but I mean, law enforcement did ask them to stay home in case he came home or called. So there's that.
Do you think law enforcement exhausted the whole area? Like, do you think they did a third?
No, I think she meant in the beginning. That's why they weren't outside walking around. I think because they were told to stay home in the very beginning.
Thorough search of the entire neighborhood and the streets along Long Hollow Pike and in the school. Do you think they?
Oh yeah. I definitely. I mean, I watched it with my own eyes. They were deep in. They were climbing in the trenches and looking in the sewage areas. And then they had dogs everywhere. They had drones everywhere. The question is, what are they doing with whatever evidence they collected, and what are they doing with the surveillance cameras? Because what I'm told that neighbors saw, they're denying.
They're denying.
Yes.
Wow. Why is that?
Exactly. I don't know. That was what I asked. I have no idea.
See,
I don't understand.
What I find interesting, Miss Bobbie, is, you know, I was up there, a week and a half later, and then we were searching on that federal property, and there was a dog hit, and law enforcement didn't even go out there to look at all. It's as if they didn't even care that there could be. I would think that they would look. It seems like they've already made up their mind or have a conclusion of what happened to Sebastian.
That is exactly how I have felt.
Be in Florida. Thank you for becoming a member. She's saying, you know, they're not telling me anything. She's frustrated. She's emotional. She lives there. She wants this resolved. She doesn't want to be known to live in the neighborhood that the kid disappeared from. It's been 3 months. It's summertime. They want their normal neighborhood. But the fact that LE isn't telling her anything just because she's a neighbor doesn't mean she's going to get the scoop. When LE thought he was a runaway, they were getting the scoop. Check here, check there, help us. Once it left that realm, she's not going to get information from them anymore. And they're certainly going to tell them, no, you're not seeing silhouettes. That's not what you're seeing. You're not seeing that. Because they don't want that out there because they're investigating it like Eric Craddock told Nick. It's an ongoing investigation. Nick said, "Can you tell me what those lights are?" He said, "No, I cannot." And that's exactly what they told her. I mean, what other kind of investigation is there other than criminal? Something criminal happening. What else would they be investigating? What other kind of investigation would it be? You would think if someone took them, they would let the neighbors know something. No, because it wouldn't be linked to the neighbors, right? If it was like an online relationship, it wouldn't have anything to do with the neighborhood. And plus, it's more important to find Sebastian than to leak evidence.
Since the first week, literally the first week, within day. I mean, and a lot of people would get on Facebook and like, belittle our neighborhood and yell at us like, why aren't you guys out looking? And why aren't you guys have signs? And why don't you have, if I was in that neighborhood, I would flood it with green. And yeah, but you haven't been violated and you were a part of this where you had hundreds of cars a day driving up and down and taking videos and pictures of your house and stopping and asking you questions, and the news reporters being out front of your house. And you don't understand where we are, and we just want to just have some peace and some privacy. We are looking, we're out there, we're asking questions, we're talking.
Yeah, Potato, you have a really good point. Is the DA involved in runaway cases? And also, are landfills involved in runaway cases?
To each other, we're on social media, we hang out flyers, whatever. We're just not. Why do we need a sign when we're in the neighborhood? I mean, we live here, for heaven's sakes. Why do we need a sign? I mean, we know what's going on. If you drive through here, this neighborhood belongs to him. Why do we need a sign to say look for him? But anyway, I feel like from the very beginning, it was a massive search effort. But I just don't understand what they did with, if they found anything, what they did with it. Why are they trying to act like the footage, did they find anything on the footage? From what I'm being told from my neighbors that saw stuff on the footage, and I asked them and they want to deny it, they want to argue with me. Why are they? And then when the TBI came and actually walked into my house, sitting in my living room couch and interviewed me, and I told him what I had heard and whatever. And then after that, he gave me his card and said, oh, and I promise you, I had 12 people every day for about 3 weeks from random places. I'm talking Canada, I'm talking UK, I'm talking Hawaii, Puerto Rico. They were trying to get into our private group. Why do you need to be in our private group? Why do you need to be in our neighborhood group?
Gotcha.
Just want to know.
You know why? Because it's a worldwide known case now. That's why they want to get in your Facebook group.
Stuff? I don't know. But I mean, we had just from.
Oh my God. Your phone overheated and shut down. It's okay. I want to finish this up anyways, but I liked having you on panel. Thank you for coming up.
They were coming out of the woodworks trying to get a piece of the information, but they just shut down. And every time I would send the TBI agent, I sent him the story about what happened to my son and I, and said I had it on, video, whatever. And I said, do you want to see this? And, he didn't even respond to me. He didn't even respond and say, I will let you know, hold on to that.
Wait, what did she want to turn into them? And they turned it down. Wait, what is it?
Know stuff? I don't know. But I mean, we had just they were coming out of the woodworks trying to get a piece of the information, but they just shut down. And every time I would send the TBI agent, I sent him the story about what happened to my son and I, and
the story about what happened to my son and I. Is she talking about when Chris Proudfoot came out in the road? Is that what she's talking about? Why would she need to call the TBI about that? Not all missing persons' parents are going to be kind. If they're not kind every day, like over the top kind, they're probably not going to be very kind when they're under stress. But is that what she's talking about? She called TBI about that? About the Facebook thing? Well, he knew the girl's name from the Facebook. Probably because he was in the same group watching what they were saying. and he put her on blast. He was probably like, oh, you're so-and-so. I see what you're saying about me. Get the fuck out of here.
Know stuff. I don't know. But I mean, we had just they were coming out of the woodworks trying to get a piece of the information. But they just shut down. And every time I would send the TBI agent, I sent him the story about what happened to my son and I, and said I had it on, video, whatever. And I said, do you want to see this? And, he didn't even respond to me. He didn't even respond.
Yeah, they probably didn't respond because they were out there searching. She already said there were fixed wing aircrafts in the air with heat sensors. And it was probably a cop she saw. They're not going to call you back to say, oh, hey, ma'am. Oh, by the way, that was just an officer you saw. They're looking for a missing 15-year-old. They could call you back. Now, if they need more information, they'll call you back. That's just the way it works. They don't have time or the manpower to fucking call everyone back. They just don't. It's not a TV show.
And say, I will let you know, hold on to that. Nothing. I didn't even get a response from him.
Weird.
I called.
It seems as if they already know something and everything else in their mind is irrelevant. It's weird.
That's how I felt. That's how I feel. I can't prove it. I mean, I don't know for sure, but that's how I feel. And that's what a lot of us feel like. I mean, a lot of us feel like I had 4 or 5 of my neighbors come over to my house one day, and we sat in my house and talking about all this and kind of sharing.
4 or 5 neighbors came over and all put their heads together, guys.
Sharing stories and stuff of what we feel, and we all feel like something is going on. Something isn't right.
Miss Bobbie, somebody in the chat asked if when you had that neighborhood vigil for Sebastian, were the Proudfoots invited?
Oh yeah, it was all over our Facebook page.
So they knew.
Absolutely. Well, if they were and we had planned it a week before, so it's not like it was last minute, throw it together. It was, a matter of fact, one of the neighbors that helped me organize it, she actually had posted it on her profile, like just on her as a posting, and just said, I'd love to have a vigil. Let me know if anybody is doing one. And I messaged her and said, hey, why don't we do this in our neighborhood? That way the family can come as well, and it can just be our private neighbors. And she's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea to me. So I put it on the Facebook page.
So they planned it and didn't even like meet the parents first. Like I would have went over. I'm not judging this lady or these neighbors. I don't know what the fuck I would have done, but I would have probably made them something to eat or got them something to eat and taken food there and been like, hey, some of the neighbors and I are going to get together. We're going to have a little vigil if you guys would like to come. But just know that we'll be thinking about you guys or whatever. I don't think JLR's butthurt about anything. I don't think much butt hurts JLR, to be honest.
As a post, I tagged her in it, and I said, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is where we're going to be. And then several people posted asking what time. We kind of kept going back and forth about what day, what time, and what.
Yeah, Rogue, exactly. I would have, a note would be good. I would have at least tried.
So did we go to their door and knock on their door and personally invite them? No, but we didn't do that with anybody. And we had a big group show up.
And they knew it. One was existing. Instead, you said they brought 2 representatives, family members.
That's the other thing is that's the other thing is, for a fact they knew because they sent the family.
Yeah. What did the family say? Like the people that you said that came, uncle and aunt, right? Uncle and aunt, they said?
Yes.
What did they say anything? Did they talk? They
didn't really talk much. They just kind of stood there and listened to us, introduce ourselves. And we went around the circle. It was quite a big circle. We went around the circle and everybody, said their prayer and whatever. And then afterwards, we just kind of said, hey, do you guys need anything? And we said, do we need food? Can we set up a food train for you? Or, is there, do you need anything? And they both said, oh, we've got a lot of support. We're good. We're fine. Don't worry about us. We're good. We got plenty of support.
Does somebody asked in the chat, does the Proudfoots have security? Did the neighbor, did you guys know if they had, because Katie worked at Brinks, right? Or Brinks Security System?
That was the very first thing I asked my neighbor when she told me that Sebastian is on the spectrum.
Yes. Ask the parents what time would work. Madge, we had a 15-year-old girl lured away by an online predator in our county. Did they find her, Madge? It's okay, Kimmy. Kimmy, you're funny. Gray in his own time and space, he recreates and debunks everything. Oh yeah, he called me stupid and dumb and all every name in the book. Not a nice person. Not a nice person. If anything happens in our neighborhoods, we'd be thankful for the nosy neighbor curtain twitchers, says Potato. If you told me to get off the street, I would have parked on it. I just don't know what they're going to do about that. Like, what do you think they're going to do? TBI is going to go to his door and say, hey, be nicer to your neighbors. That's the least of their fucking worries right now at that moment in time, you know?
Spectrum. And I said, hold on a minute. Doesn't she work for Brinks? And she said, yes. And I said, she has a special needs child. She works for Brinks. Does she not have security or locks or some kind of like a safety, something to keep him from coming out? And she said, not that I'm aware of. Now, the people before them, I do not believe they had security.
She just told us that he rode the normal school bus, not the special needs school bus. So then they were shocked that she didn't have security. So which one is it? See, everybody is like, when they want Sebastian to be helpless, he's helpless. When they want him to be more like a normal teenager, he's more like a normal teenager. It's perfectly fine that he rode the normal bus. But damn it, she should have had cameras and security. It's weird. Like, he can come home at 3 p.m, right? And be home till 6 or 7. He can be alone at Seth's house for 16 hours. But damn it, she should have had fucking security. And dingers and things on the doors that rang a bell. And an Apple fucking tag in the sole of his shoe. I mean, what the hell? It's just like you get both conflicting, and it's like it drives me mad.
They were elderly couple, so I don't even know if they cared. But apparently they didn't, because then Brinks came afterwards and installed. And I know that for a fact because she called me and said, well, they're getting security now. And I think Chris said that was because they felt like they were being threatened and all that kind of stuff, which I can't prove or deny, whatever. That's up to them. That's their business.
They felt like they were being threatened. I think we all can pretty much say shit got pretty ugly, right? Kimmy. He told me to get off the street, and I did.
But from what I understand, they did not have anything before that.
Maybe they felt safe.
So, interesting. Very, very interesting. Has the Proudfoots been back at their home? Like, are they there?
She has been. I think she went back to work because she's been home and her van comes and goes. I think Chris came in one weekend. I don't know, but I've kind of just stopped. Like I would drive by once every, like maybe once a week just to see, if they were there, because they were.
She drove by more than once a week. Who believes she drove by once a week? I love you, Bobbie, but you're hilarious. I drove by maybe once a week.
I've kind of just stopped. Like I would drive by once every, like maybe once a week just to see, if they were there, because they were there. And it was just like,
it's kind of like when someone gets pulled over and they've been drinking. How much have you had to drink tonight, ma'am? 1 beer. I drive by once a week. Oh, that's right. I know. An apple, anything wouldn't have been. I know. I get it. I was just being facetious.
Katie's right. I heard her say that they were trying to leave to kind of give us a break because we were getting overwhelmed. We were all getting very upset and very overwhelmed with all the traffic and stuff. And, I do appreciate her saying for recognizing that. However,
okay, see, they were bitching. And Chris and Katie, it sounds like, said, you know what? We're going to go. We're going to go. Because it sounds like these neighbors were not fucking happy with them being there. And you know what? Maybe it's warranted. Maybe it's not. I don't live there. But it sounds to me like they were getting the message, yo ass ain't welcome.
All getting very upset and very overwhelmed with all the traffic.
Yeah, they were upset and overwhelmed because they think they did something. And they don't like them just holed up in the neighborhood. I drove by once a week. Isn't that fucking great? I love people though. They're so off the cuff. And you know what? We all do it. We all downplay shit. We all exaggerate shit. That's what makes us humans. It's awesome. And it's funny because it's just being human. Nothing against this lady. It's just fucking funny.
Has a special needs child. She worked for Brinks. Does she not have security or locks or some kind of like a safety, something to keep him from coming out? And she said, not that I'm aware of. Now, the people before them, I do not believe they had security. They were elderly couples.
So elderly couples don't feel, I mean, that's who should have security. We'd probably drive by too. Fuck yeah, we would. And we would downplay it. I'd be like, oh yeah, I drove by there every now and then. I'm not throwing no shade. I'd do the same thing. But the elderly couple didn't feel the need for security cameras that they bought it from. She just said it.
So I don't even know if they cared.
They're old. They're old, so I don't know if they cared. What?
And installed. And I know that for a fact because she called me and said, well, they're getting security now. And I think Chris said that was because they felt like they were being threatened and all that kind of stuff, which I can't prove or deny, whatever. That's up to them. That's their business. But from what I understand, they did not have anything before that.
So, interesting. Very, very interesting. Has the Proudfoots been back at their home? Like, are they there?
She has been. I think she went back to work because she's been home and her van comes and goes. I think Chris came in one weekend. I don't know, but I've kind of just stopped. Like I would drive by once every, like maybe once a week just to see, if they were there because they were there. And it was just like, and Katie's right. I heard her say that they were trying to leave to kind of give us a break because we were getting overwhelmed. We were all getting very upset and very overwhelmed with all the traffic.
All the traffic was them. It was them driving by to see if they were home. They were the ones. and Katie's like, you know what? We're just gonna go. We're just gonna go. But I get what she says. The elderly sometimes they just don't lock. You're right, Island.
Traffic and stuff, and I do appreciate her saying for recognizing that. However, I was really shocked because I feel like that if my kid was missing, I don't want to say I would handle it differently because I don't ever want to be put in that situation, and I don't want to make karma come after me. But I can't imagine leaving my house if my child was missing.
She doesn't want to make karma come. I told her to drive by, and she did. And it's so funny because I know I would drive by, but all the neighbors were there. Are they fucking there? Are they there? Are they there? I mean, come on. We had YouTubers, driving by getting pictures daily. It was like, here's your morning picture of the Proudfoots driveway.
Yeah, no. I mean, she's been called out by that. I mean, she's claiming that she can't wait for him to come into the door, Bubba. And
right. He said Bubba.
But I'm not her.
Over to
I'm not her, and I can't. I'm not gonna say that she did the wrong thing because I have no business saying that. I'm just surprised. I do appreciate the fact that she did recognize that we were getting overwhelmed with traffic and whatnot. So I do.
Dude, if Katie Proudfoot got on a ladder and hung cameras, those fucking neighbors would have seen her. From what I'm hearing, if anybody does anything to the outside exterior of their home, these people know. And they talk about it. I've lived in neighborhoods like this. I hate it. YouTubists. Sorry. Thank you for the correction. If she was on a ladder hanging motherfucking cameras and shit, they would have been like, oh yeah, I remember her with those ladders. I mean, these are the kind of people that, they probably pay attention to your landscaping and shit. All of us YouTubers in a backup traffic. Oh, man. But for real, I feel like they would have been like, we seen her. And I'm not saying we shouldn't pay attention, but these people pay attention. And I feel like if she was installing a system after they bought it, they would have been like, who's the new neighbors? You know how people are. Oh, I saw the new neighbor outside today. Who's the new neighbors? Oh, look, the new neighbor lady works for Brinks. She's installing her camera system. YouTubist from YouTubia.
Do appreciate that, but and we were, but I would just think that, you know, maybe Chris goes back to work and she stays there just in case. But you know, everybody handles things differently, and if that's what she felt like she needed to do, then, you know, who am I to judge that?
But they haven't, since this incident happened, they really don't come out at all, interact with anybody that you know of.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've seen them interact with a neighbor very close to them a couple of times, be out talking to one of the neighbors, but I have not seen them out talking to anybody else.
There's
Like I
rumors
said, I
that
don't.
there's rumors that they might be moving. You know anything about that? Have you heard? Is there?
I've heard that so many times, and there's no confirmation of that.
Interesting.
I've asked we have a couple of realtors in our neighborhood, and I've asked them, and they've not. It's like, I have not heard any confirmation of that.
Has one more thing, has the detectives or authorities ever go back to their house, like in certain time, like maybe like a week or 2 weeks after Sebastian went missing? Have they ever returned to the home?
Oh yeah, they came back. What was it, week 2 or 3? They came back and basically started it all over again. Started the searching all over again, and they also reenacted the whole scene. And they started at like 10 o'clock Sunday night ish. Was it something like that? Sunday night, going into the early the next morning to see if they could kind of like retrace each one of the steps and everything that happened.
Type of deal? Or
Yeah.
Interesting, but nothing seems like, well, got their evidence and got something out of that possibly.
If they did, they're not telling us.
They're not. How's the neighbor?
Well, they're definitely not going to tell them. She wants to know. She wants this resolved. This woman is frustrated. And I don't blame her. I don't blame her at all.
Now?
I think it's getting better. I mean, I'm noticing a lot of neighbors are getting out more and walking dogs again and talking. And I think people think that we're all like huddled together talking about everything that's going on. And it's not like that at all. I think we're all just trying to stay out of it, trying to give them their space and kind of stay away from everything. And we just don't, I know for me, I don't want to get into their personal business. I just don't want to be that neighbor that's all like super nosy.
Well, I hate to say it, but Robbie or Bobbie, you're already there. I mean, she's already there. I don't want to be that neighbor that's, like super nosy. I love this lady. I love her. Ben says we're driving by once a week. She certainly knows the comings and goings. Just you and the 5 others that are huddled together.
And thinks that she knows everything, because I don't know what happened. I don't understand. This kid did not just vanish. He just didn't vanish.
But does any neighbors think it was a kidnapping, or like think their children are in danger?
So that was the very first thing I asked on Wednesday when TBI came and sat down with me and talked to me. And I looked at her, I said, I get that you guys are being super quiet about this because it is still an investigation. However, if this kid was kidnapped, don't you think you might want to tell us so that we can kind of lock our kids up and, be safe or whatever? And she, instead of her, and I guess is, again, part of the investigation, she said, well, you should always do that.
She tried to get information from TBI. So TBI met with her on Wednesday. He went missing on Monday, right? I know, horrible English accent, Ben. Potato's daughter said I sounded Indian when I tried to sound English. I know it's god awful. But what was I saying? Oh, she met with TBI on Wednesday, and she's like, "I know y'all are being tight-lipped, but hey, I'm the neighborhood gatherer, if you will. If we need to lock up our children, let us know." And they said, "You should do that anyways." So that tells me, no, there's not a threat to you or your children, without saying there's not a threat. Amber says, "I watched Chris McDonald last night. He mentioned he's working on Sebastian's case. That's amazing news." BDAC says, "I loved it how everyone left Betty's live for JLR's and she quit. She must have been livid." That is called revenge JLR style. What you witnessed last night, I think he had over 6,000 in chat as well. What you witnessed last night is revenge JLR style. He's not going to come out and make a video about her. He's not going to even address her or say her name. It was fucking great. I didn't know she was live though, but I did think that the 6,000 in chat was some JLR revenge. But I love this lady. Let's listen.
Wednesday, when TBI came and sat down with me and talked to me, and I looked at her, I said, "I get that you guys are being super quiet about this because it is still an investigation. However, if this kid was kidnapped, don't you think you might want to tell us so that we can kind of lock our kids up and, be safe or whatever?" And she, instead of her, and I guess is, again, part of the investigation, she said, "Well, you should always do that."
That's interesting. Yeah, they have a responsibility. I mean, if one of their theories is Sebastian got kidnapped, and they never said Sebastian was kidnapped.
But there was there were no cars that came up their street and then left up their street and left. The only car that was ever seen was the one that was on Kellen that parked on the corner of Stafford and Kellen for about 3 or 5 minutes, where the flashlights came towards it, backed up and left.
I think that's probably what they didn't want to get out, was that part. Because that's definitely, we can't tell. We can see lights in that video, but we did not know that the car pulled in, parked there for X amount of minutes, and then pulled out. He had almost 10K. That's great. Yeah, he does. He does a really good job. He's got a grip on everything now. He's got a really good grip on everything now. And now he's got that traction. You know what I mean? It's come a long way in a short amount of time.
And then the trash truck, and then Katie's SUV, and then the police, or then the school bus, and then the police. So there was no other car that ever drove up Stafford.
Was it a car that the lights went to? Or like an SUV or a car? Like what type of vehicle is
Yeah, JLR's like, was it a baby blue Infinity?
Was it?
I don't know. I don't remember. It just the words that where I was told was unidentified car. I don't know if it was an SUV or a car or what. That was just what I was told. It was an unidentified car. And that was another thing, is when I asked the lead detective, I said, this car that was on Kellen, he was like, "Yeah, we already figured that out. That was an Uber." And I was like, "No, the Uber was a neighbor on Devon that ordered an Uber about 5:30 to go to the airport. I know that." But the car sitting on...
She's challenging the police. She's like, no. See, the cops are sick of all of us that, examine things. She's like, no, that's not the Uber, yo. I know what time the Uber came through. I want to know who the fuck was parked down on Kellen at the corner of Stafford and sat there for 3 to 5 minutes and then backed out and went away. I know that wasn't the Uber.
We already figured that out. That was an Uber. And I was like, "No, the Uber was a neighbor on Devon that ordered an Uber about 5:30 to go to the airport. I know that. But the car sitting on... Why would a car sit on Kellen?"
See, because the cops don't want to say anything about it. They're trying to keep it close to the vest. She just told TBI on Wednesday, "I know y'all are keeping this quiet, because it's an investigation. However, you're telling me the wrong information, and I'm putting that shit together, and I'm calling you out on it because I know that wasn't the Uber.
If they were going up the street to get the customer to leave. I mean, you don't sit there.
Coincidentally, at the same time, lights are flashing around
She's mad that the police insulted her intelligence.
the time.
Well, at the same time, the trash truck would have been through there. So
Yeah.
like, you wouldn't have gotten that confused. Why would a car be sitting on our road like around 3:30, 4 o'clock Monday morning? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, one thing
She told that to TBI. I fucking love her. I love her. Listen, this is what she told the TBI. She's fucking great.
And thinks that she knows everything because I don't know what happened. I don't understand. This kid did not just vanish. He just didn't vanish.
But does any neighbors think it was a kidnapping or like think their children are in
Well,
danger?
so that was the very first thing I asked on Wednesday when the TBI came and sat down with me and talked to me. And I looked at her, I said, I get that you guys are being super quiet about this because it is still an investigation. However, if this kid was kidnapped, don't you think you might want to tell us so that we can kind of lock our kids up and, be safe or whatever? And she, instead of her, and I guess is, again, part of the investigation, she said, well, you should always do that.
That's interesting. Yeah, they have a responsibility. I mean, if they're one of their theories is Sebastian got kidnapped and they never said Sebastian was kidnapped.
But there was there were no cars that came up their street and then left up
Bobbie.
their street and left. The only car that was ever seen was the one that was on Kellen that parked on the corner of Stafford and Kellen for about 3 or 5 minutes where the flashlights came towards it, backed up and left. And then the trash truck and then Katie's SUV. And then
So she's like, you are not going to tell me that those 2 flashlights walked to an Uber, because they didn't. Those 2 flashlights walked to the car that was parked on Kellen and sat there for 3 to 5 minutes. And it was at 3 in the morning, not 5 in the morning.
Police, or then the school bus and then the police. So there was no other car that ever drove up Stafford.
Was it a car that the lights went to? Or like an SUV or a car? Like what type of vehicle was it?
I don't know. I don't remember. Just the words that where I was told was unidentified car. I don't know if it was an SUV or a car or what. That was just what I was told. It was an unidentified car. And that was another thing is when I asked the lead detective, I said, this car that was on Kellen, he was like, yeah, we already figured that out. That was an Uber. And I was like, no, the Uber was a neighbor on Devon that ordered an Uber about 5:30 to go to the airport. I know that. But the car why would a car sit on Kellen if they were going up the street to get the customer to leave? I mean, you don't sit there.
Coincidentally, at the same time, lights are flashing around.
Why aren't they asking for help identifying the car? That's what I was thinking last night. I'm like, they must not need help. They must not need help. Oh, no. It's weird. After 3 months, like you said, I don't know.
Around the time.
Well, at the same time, the trash truck would have been through there. So like, you wouldn't have gotten that confused. Why would a car be sitting on our road like around 3:30, 4 o'clock Monday morning? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, one thing I say, and it's the truth, the law enforcement is not obligated to tell the public the truth.
That's true.
We have to tell law enforcement the truth if we're being interrogated or questioned or whatnot, in a sense, because you could be, charged with lying, but they're not under any legal obligation. I mean, morally, you would think they would tell the truth, but they don't legally have to. And they can lie to the public, and they do. So maybe they're keeping things close to the vest.
She's not happy about that.
I was just really surprised how I felt like he got a little bit defensive with me when I mentioned that I was a neighbor and talking to the neighbors about their surveillance. Because my thought is this, if
they got snippy with her when she said she was talking to the neighbor about the surveillance, I don't think they want anyone talking about that surveillance.
If you were to ask an officer a direct question, if he can't discuss it instead of arguing with me, the response should have been, I can't confirm or deny that. I can't discuss that. We're still in investigation. Instead of him flat out lying about or, like defending it and arguing with me, why didn't he just say, well, that's still part of the investigation. I can't comment on that. And I would have simply said, okay, you're right. I understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he didn't.
Integrity of the investigation. No comment.
That's what I would have done. I mean, that's usually what they do. Why argue with me and try to convince me otherwise? It's like he was trying to convince me. Leave that alone. Stop talking about it. That's not part of this.
Got you, Bobbie. Is there anything else you would like to add that I didn't ask, or anything that you want to put out
It's just feedback. It's her feedback, I believe.
there that the public should know that we forgot?
I actually think it's feedback on his part, because when he talks, you can hear it. And then when he stops talking, his mic cuts it off.
I think so. I mean, I think we pretty much covered everything. I just know that
She is funny.
we want this resolved as badly as anybody does. I would love just for this to be over and him to come home. But I really just wish people would, around social media just got really nasty and ugly and started attacking us. One of our neighbors, I will say this, one of the neighbors that live close by, they got the whole rumor about Katie having an affair with a neighbor.
Lord.
What started that?
Interesting. So that's not true. I saw that
Where
circulate.
in the world? Not only that, but one of the neighbors, precious sweet family. I know them personally. They
no.
are a great family. They got so attacked by this rumor that their kids started being bullied at school, saying that your parents are the ones that were swingers, started being called swingers. They started getting phone calls from people all over the country claiming that they were swingers.
Yeah,
It
that
got
rumor
so bad.
What?
not true at all about
Not
Katie.
that I know.
Wow. Okay, so I can verify a story that Julia, the dog handler, told me. And you guys might remember this. We talked about it briefly. She said that she got a call from a neighbor whose kid went to school with Sebastian, and that they wanted to talk to her about what they saw. Well, now we're finding out. They wanted to talk to Julia about what they saw, and she was supposed to meet with them, but they were worried about being bullied by other parents. Like adults were bullying adults or some shit. And at the time I was like, I don't even understand this story. But she didn't go into great detail about it, but we talked about it a little bit. So that kind of verifies that she was communicating here, right?
At school, saying that your parents are the ones that were swingers, started being called swingers. They started getting phone calls from people all over the country.
So the kids were yes. Okay. So maybe she was meeting with that family or something. Do you guys remember that? You do?
Claiming that they were swingers.
Yeah,
It
that
got
rumor
so bad.
not true at all about
Not
Katie
that I
having
know.
a neighbor. Yeah,
Not
that
that
was
I'm
that.
aware of.
And so that neighbor was getting harassed then, huh?
Bad. It was really bad. People just get so, I mean, I know that they want answers. I know everybody is just
Daphne.
really wants answers. I mean, heavens, we want answers. We're living in the middle of this. We want answers. We want all this to go away. We want the truth to be found. We want this to just be solved and be done with. But
What she
making
wants.
things up and, coming to your own conclusion because you don't have an answer is not helping us at all. It's not helping the family. And I'm not here by any means to defend Chris and Katie by any means. I don't know them.
How did we go? Welcome, Sarah Elizabeth. Hopefully you new members today can join us tomorrow for our members only live at 8 p.m. Eastern. Cricket Day says, how did we go from Katie is cheating to swingers? I guess that's where the rumors went. They talk crap in the cul-de-sac. Yeah, they do. I don't know.
I don't know anything about them to defend them. I'm just saying that making up stuff is
Sarah.
only hurting our neighborhood, because now you've got people who are harassing us and neighbors, wanting information and that kind of thing, and driving her all around. Now that the driving through the neighborhood has calmed down immensely, so that's good.
That would be driving like just regular, like YouTubers, curiosity seekers, just crime tourists. Sometimes there's crime tourists out
Well,
there.
I mean, there were at the beginning, there were a lot of, YouTubers that were coming through the neighborhood, and they would stop and get out of their car and walk up and down the street, videoing, taking pictures and whatever. And it was like a huge invasion of privacy.
She was so mad. Mountain Man says cops are building the case. I think so too. I think a lot of people in here think that way too.
There's nothing we can do about it because it's a public street. I get that, but have some respect. And then just local people, I guess, feeling like the police weren't doing enough, so they were going to go out themselves and drive, and they would just drive up and around and just drive around over, like up and down and around the hill and that kind of thing.
That pretty much calmed down.
Yes, that's almost stopped. But we had two neighbors that were trying to sell their house.
Do you want to know why it stopped? Because they left. It's almost stopped. Right, because they left. I believe that's why they left. Right? Didn't she say it was kind of Katie to say, you know what? We're out of here. And then we've got YouTubers going, the fuck are you doing? Why aren't you at home, motherfuckers? Driving by the campsite. Oh, man, what a mess.
And neither one of them can sell it.
Oh, really?
Nope. They both took them off the market because they were getting too many.
So 2 people tried to sell their home after this incident happened, and they can't sell it.
Actually, one family actually had their house on the market before this happened. And then when this happened, their realtor just told them to take it off the market because they were getting more phone calls just being nosy than they were legitimately asking about the house.
What?
Oh, wow.
And then the other neighbor
they were getting phone calls. Wait, who was it that did it? I think it was like a legitimate news source. Said they spoke with a realtor. It was Nick Barris. It was Nick Barris. Remember, he said, I spoke to a realtor down the road. So it's not just YouTubers. Listen, remember, he said, I spoke with a realtor. Y'all might not remember that, but I think it's in the flashlight video. Maybe they were trying to see what cameras were on the neighbors' houses from realtors. Oh, God almighty.
more phone calls just being nosy than they were legitimately asking about the house.
Oh, wow.
And then the other neighbor on the other cul-de-sac actually put their house on the market right afterwards and then taking it off.
See, these are things people don't know about. It's interesting, because
they put their house on the market right after. I wonder who that is. That's kind of interesting. Marilyn, I'm not. Are you? I wish I was. Can't someone be in a good mood without being high? Jesus. Holy.
because it might be devaluing the neighborhood, or people might like, hey, I don't want to move to a neighborhood where a child went missing and is still missing. It has a lot of affects people, than not just the Proudfoots and Seth Rogers, but the whole neighborhood in general. It causes some bad things to happen with everyone, and man, I'm sorry that's happened.
I don't think anybody is going to be able to go anywhere until this is resolved, because I don't know anybody that would want to move into all this. Why would you want to move into a neighborhood where a kid just vanishes?
Right, exactly.
Exactly, because there's the type of neighborhood where you want to have a family, build your dreams, career, raise your children, and
safely and securely.
Yes, and I mean, I've been there. I've been in the area. Those homes are beautiful. I mean, I would love to have a dream house like that. Like it's nice, and just can't imagine, you know, like just a neighborhood that's never seen probably any crime ever. There's no
No.
crime in the neighborhood, right?
We had one incident many years ago that was resolved in one day, over and done with, and never had anything else. I mean, this is the kind of neighborhood that, like I said, I mean, my twins were born in that house, and when they were little, you know, I didn't let them go out by themselves, but I would feel comfortable with them going outside in the yard, you know, as long as it was like, just don't get in the street, because we live on the main road, and you'd have the big trucks and you have the school bus and that kind of thing coming through. And I would just say, stay in the yard. But I didn't have to worry about somebody coming up and grabbing them. I just never felt that. I never feared that. I mean, I knew my neighbors, my family all lived in the neighborhood with me. I mean, my parents lived there. My brother and sister used to live there. We all lived there together, and my kids would walk in between the yards to her house, and her kids would walk in between the yard to my house. My kids would go up the corner and play basketball with the neighbor kids, and they would all ride bikes around, and you just never worried about anybody coming in and doing anything.
But now people are kind of worried.
I don't ever, I mean, I'm not seeing kids out playing like they used to be.
Stupid.
Sad, you know, because kids need to get out a little bit and enjoy the fresh air and the great outdoors, you know, the outdoors in their yard and stuff. It's just so sad. Hopefully this young man gets found and your neighborhood could get back to normal, a sense of normalcy.
Hey, Marilyn, take your ass and hit it. If you don't like humor, you definitely won't like my channel. No, I'm being serious. Because we laugh here. Yes, we do. Yes, indeedy, we do. Remember Nate and his mom, Jay? Now we found out Nate lied on TV. No, I'm not laughing at her. It's just funny because we would all be like this. It's so typical. It's like so stereotypical. It's not even funny. I mean, I guess if you follow true crime, you've seen interview after interview like this. And it just gets to be where, you know who the people are in the neighborhood that pay attention and talk to everybody. It's not a big fucking deal.
I know everyone is a little bit on edge still, pins and needles, but really appreciate you coming on and providing insight. Everyone is very grateful. People in the chat, if you got some questions for Bobbie, just leave them in the chat and I'll talk to you offline and maybe you can answer some of the questions. But I really appreciate you coming on. And we really never really heard from a neighbor really coming on the record speaking about it. And sorry you had to go through this, man. And I think
we all just were trying to be quiet.
I met your children when I was out there. You got the coolest sons out there. Tell them I said.
I tell them they're in there watching.
I thought this was cute.
I'm not going to say their names, but I know their names. But just tell them, they're cool. You raised them very, very well, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. They're actually up there watching the game, and I said I gotta go to my car and sit in the car a minute, go talk to JLR. Oh my gosh, you're gonna be on JLR!
I love that.
I was like, yes.
Thank you.
So
everyone appreciates it, Bobbie. Thank you, and we're praying for Sebastian for sure. Stay safe.
Yes.
Coming on. We'll talk soon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Hey, Bobbie. Have a good day.
All right. I thought it was a great interview. I thought that she was precious. I believe her. I just think it's funny. Everybody has their neighborhood nanny. YouTubists. Yeah, we don't need Debbie Downers. But since we had one, I guess y'all need a little pick-me-up before we dance it out tonight. And don't forget tomorrow, Tuesday, July 11th. Members only here at J is for Justice, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But we are going to laugh it out before we dance it out. Yes, JLR, amazing interview. And we love Bobbie. Damn it, Bobbie. That's what Proudfoot's saying. Damn it, Bobbie. All right, guys. So laugh it out and then dance it out. And I'll see y'all tomorrow, okay? This is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to leave the screen. You guys are going to laugh it and dance it. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night, guys.
Some grief for Seth. I can stay professional and I can stay above board for a while. And then after a while, I just lose my patience. And again, I told these people before that continue to cause trouble that there's a whole lot more that I can do to cause you grief than what I've done to this point. And if you want to push me, then push me.
You say that I'm away so much and now you